the Sorcerer of the Celestial Dragon line. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 Floating City Planning. Master, if we keep fighting like this, won't Douglas and Alex get hurt? Bus asked worriedly, looking at the two little guys who were beaten like sandbags. Douglas and Alex have eaten too many magic fruits, and a lot of energy has accumulated in their bodies. If we don't relax their muscles and bones, most of it will be wasted slowly, Allen said after eating an ice crystal fruit. Don't worry, they won't die, at most they will suffer a little. Allen patted Biss's head and told her not to worry. Most of the time, Biss was with these two little guys, and seeing them being beaten so badly by the iron golem, he felt a little bit sorry. Roar. Roar chirp. Chirp looking at the giant dragon and phoenix screaming in pain after being beaten. Allen took a sip of the black tea in his hand. The fight lasted for half an hour. No, it was a beating. The beating lasted for half an hour, during which Douglas and Alex kept trying to escape, but they didn't succeed. Seeing that there was no hope of escape, they began to beg Allen for mercy, but how could Allen make the iron golem stop? The result was that Douglas and Alex were beaten for half an hour. Now you understand how useless you are. Allen stood beside the iron golem and kicked Douglas and Alex. Douglas's scales were broken in large areas, many parts were obviously swollen and even fractured. The huge dragon wings drooped on his back, and one side was obviously broken. Alex was not much better. The fiery red feathers on his body were torn to pieces. The whole training ground was filled with its feathers. His legs were limping, and the beautiful bird feathers on his head were also plucked away. The originally beautiful fire phoenix became a drowned chicken. One by one, you don't think about how to improve your strength. You are a complete waste. Today is the first time. We will practice against each other every 3 days in the future, Allen said coldly, while looking at the miserable dragon and phoenix. If there is no progress, I remember that the dragon breast in the warehouse is almost finished. Master, the dragon breast has not been replenished, and the reserve is less than 10% now. Selena hurried back. Well, it's okay if they're gone. Aren't there fresh dragon and phoenix breasts? Hearing Allen's voice, Douglas and Alex's body stiffened instantly, and then they fell to Allen's feet the next moment. Master, we are making rapid progress. Yeah, Master, don't give up on us. Douglas and Alex promised timidly. Really? Then I'll see how you perform. After saying that, he ignored them and left the training ground directly. These two rogues, they don't know how to make progress without a good lesson. With such good talents, they have to wait until they grow up. They will never have motivation without scaring them. Allen still has high expectations for Douglas and Alex. After all, they have good qualifications. When they grow up, they will be at the level of 3rd level wizards, and their lifespan is long enough. There is a saying that even a pig can become a pig god if it lives for 10,000 years. What's more, Allen uses so many resources to supply them. If they don't break through to the legendary level when they grow up, Allen doesn't mind remelting them. Northeast of the floating city, this is an academy in Allen's plan. Now a wall has been built to surround it. This will be the place for Allen to train his men. Entering the academy, it is divided into 9 areas. After all, his wizard tower is already called the 9 Rings Tower, and the academy should also be divided into 9 schools. The 5 Rings Tower is not proficient in the School of Necromancer, the School of Voodoo, the School of Trickery, and the School of Change. The academy he is going to open will make up for it. There are 9 towers in the academy, but it is incomparable to Allen's wizard tower. There is no floating device, no element furnace, only an element pool installed, and its main function is research. This is a benefit obtained after joining his floating city. After all, for ordinary wizards, the cost of a wizard tower is not a small amount. After joining, you can use the wizard tower, which is very attractive to those wizards. In addition to the major academy, Allen is also planning to build some other professional academies. Although after the construction of the floating city is completed, the entire city will be covered with a layer of artificial magic net, the concentration of elemental particles will also increase, and the probability of the birth of a spellcaster will be greatly increased, but it is still very small compared to the total population base. Although there is no talent for spell casting, it is still competent as a melee profession, and as a floating city, melee professions are also indispensable. Allen has a lot of melee physical profession inheritance in his hands. Although it is not as good as a spellcaster, it is still okay as a follower. In many cases, melee professions are indispensable. After checking the planned college area, Allen continued to inspect the back of the floating city. The north of the floating city is a large ecological park, which will be the food and material base of the entire floating city in the future. Allen plans to use space expansion technology here. In the future, the area here will be even larger than the area of the entire floating city. Space expansion technology is a space technology commonly used by spellcasters. It can expand 5, 10 or 100 times the space in a limited space. Basically all wizard organizations use this technology to build bases. It's just that the technical level is different, and the size of the expanded space is different. The ecological park of the Five Rings Tower uses this technology. It doesn't look big on the outside, but the space inside is very vast. Various secret realms also use this space expansion technology. Allen plans to divide the ecological park into 3 areas, one of which is used to produce living materials, including food, livestock, and various living raw materials. One part will be used to grow magical plants, and many small areas will be divided here as welfare for wizards who join the floating tower. Of course, this piece of land is not large, and if you want a larger one, you need to pay extra points. In the last area, Allen plans to build a beast park, where he plans to breed magical beasts on a large scale. The magical beast has many uses, and it can be said that the whole body is a treasure. The magic contained in the blood is the main material for making magic ink. This ink is used to copy magic books. The copied magic books can be preserved for thousands of years without damage. It is also the material for copying spell scrolls. In addition to these, there are also alchemical potions. The blood of magical beasts will be added to some magic potions. The fur of the demon beast can be used to make armor and equipment. Because of its good magic conductivity, it can be enchanted, and it can also be used to make magic scrolls. Other bones and claws can also be used to make various enchanted equipment, so the demon beast is a very important resource. This area needs to be transformed to transform the environment into a natural environment suitable for the demon beast to live in, and a professional training department needs to be established to prevent the demon beast bloodline from degenerating. Chapter 502 Return to the Star Realm. The demonized beasts will undergo some changes in different environments. Allen needs to form a monitoring team to prevent these demonized beasts from undergoing major changes. Allen simply demarcated this area and has not yet built it. It can be said that the cost of this ecological park can also rank among the top in the floating city. The southeast area of the floating city will be the commercial area, where various goods, demonized materials, potion equipment, etc. will be sold. At the same time, a trading market will be built here. Residents of the floating city can pay a certain amount of points to get an area to set up stalls. The living area is located in the south of the floating city. A large number of houses will be built here. The floating city planned by Allen can accommodate 50,000 people, and it also retains space for progress and upgrading. The future floating city is likely to be a super large floating city with a population of hundreds of thousands. The level of the house is divided into 5 levels. The lowest level is the first level, with the smallest area, and built in the state of a building. Allen made some modifications to the buildings in some communities in his previous life, and then built them. This kind of building with a small area and a large number of residents is prepared for those civilians. The area of the floating city is limited. Although there is space expansion, it is still necessary to save it. The second level residence is also a building, but the area is much larger. Only after the third level will there be an independent yard. The third level residence is similar to the courtyard in the previous life, with a small training ground attached, which is built for melee professionals. The fourth level housing is a villa, with a large room and a garden, where magical plants can be planted. The villa is also equipped with a training ground, which is prepared for spellcasters. The 5th level residence is a small manor. In addition to all the above facilities, it is also connected to the element pool and has an independent laboratory. The environment is quiet and the concentration of elemental particles is high. It is prepared for higher level spellcasters. Judging from the current situation, the house prepared by Allen is still good. The southwest area of the floating city is entertainment facilities, where there will be taverns, theaters, farmers markets, training grounds, etc. Not all people are ascetics. If there is no place for leisure and entertainment, it will greatly affect the mental outlook of the residents in the floating city. The west of the floating city will be used as a production base, with various factories inside, and the most important golem factory will also be built here. In addition to these infrastructures, the weapon facilities of the floating city will be composed of 5 high towers, and Allen's wizard tower will serve as the control center of the weapon system. However, only Allen's wizard tower has been completed in the floating city, and the other wizard towers are still on the drawing board. With the completion of the construction of the element furnace, Allen is going to start building the ecological park next. The construction of the ecological park requires a lot of precious materials, and the construction of the ecological park is a long-term process, which also requires the collection of a large number of magical plants and magical beasts. Allen posted a task in the mission hall, which requires the long-term acquisition of various magical beasts and magical plants. The requirements must be alive. For rare species or species that are not available in Allen's ecological park, a high price is given, and the price given for general species is not high. After the task was released, many wizards who were very confident in their own strength and did not like this kind of construction task began to form teams to receive tasks, and then searched various areas on the continent. In the following days, Allen began to build the ecological park. The construction of the ecological park requires a lot of astral materials. The astral materials that Allen collected before have been exhausted, and now he needs to enter the astral world again to collect. As a high-level legend, Allen has the ability to protect himself in the astral world. As long as he does not encounter time and space turbulence or powerful evil gods, there will generally be no danger. Back to the astrological table, open the element furnace, and the light blue energy enters a plane gate along the energy channel. In addition to connecting other planes, this plane gate can also enter the astral world. A ray of spiritual light shot out, and the plane gate opened. Plane teleportation, Stargate, advanced energy protection, increase resistance. Allen blessed himself with an energy protection force field, and then stepped directly into the teleportation gate. Once again in the astral world, it is still empty and silent. Behind him is a huge blue planet. Compared with the Earth, the wizard world is dozens of times larger. In the distance is a silver star cluster where countless starlight gathers, surrounded by countless astral materials and objects that are like meteors passing by at high speed. Those objects may be a comet, or a plane, or even the body of an ancient god. Allen moved his body, adapted to the environment of the astral world for a while, thought for a while, and then activated the power in his blood. A flash of light flashed, and Allen's body disappeared, replaced by a giant dragon with a length of more than 50 meters and a ferocious appearance. Gently flapping its wings, the body of the sacred dragon became like a fish in water in the astral world. The dragon's flying ability does not only rely on wings, but also a kind of instinctive spell. As a powerful species in the multiverse, the astral world is a more familiar environment for dragons than the material plane. After leaving a space coordinate, Allen flapped his wings and flew to the depths of the astral world. The most eye-catching thing around the wizard world is the 2 satellites, and on the plane barrier of the wizard world, there is a layer of dark red aura. This is caused by the erosion of the abyss energy, but the dark red aura is very dim. The abyss energy is slowly and continuously eroding the wizard world. At the end of the abyss energy, there is a projection of the evil son of the abyss, which is the embodiment of the will of the abyss. Allen stared at it for a while, and actually felt a trace of evil thoughts and confusion. This is the evil aura force field of the abyss. The evil son of the abyss. There will be plenty of opportunities to deal with it later. Turning his sight away from the projection of the evil sun, Allen stretched his wings and began to collect materials from the astral world. Without air and gravity, the dragon's body moved very fast here, and the radiation here had no effect on the thick-skinned dragon. With a light flap of his wings, Allen's speed exceeded the speed of sound. In theory, if you continue to accelerate in the astral world, your speed can even reach the speed of light, but that requires a lot of energy and time to accelerate. More importantly, when the speed reaches a certain level, you have no time to react, and hitting an object at random will cause catastrophic consequences. Astral travel is more about using space nodes and astral coordinates to jump in space. Material absorption. A purple torrent appeared around the dragon, and then as the dragon moved quickly, it drew a purple torrent in the astral world. A large amount of astral matter was driven by this purple torrent, and then collected by Allen in a special space container. Allen, in the form of a giant dragon, dragged along purple aura, and rushed into the area rich in astral matter. A large amount of astral matter was attracted by the purple aura, and then taken away by Allen. Chapter 503 Return to the Star Realm. 2. Chapter 504. After entering the astral world, Allen came into contact with a wave of energy, and his body seemed to break free from the shackles. In the astral world, there is source energy, which is a strange energy derived from the source sea, and is also the most primitive and essential energy. This energy is everywhere, and here you can automatically master the ability to cast spells instantly. All low and medium level spells are cast instantly. The casting time of high level spells is greatly shortened, and the release time of legendary spells is also shortened by half. If you enter the source sea and get close to the vast and boundless energy ocean, even legendary spells can be cast instantly. As long as your soul can withstand this energy, the astral world or the source sea can provide you with endless energy. There are no restrictions on the material plane here, and there are almost no restrictions. For spellcasters, it is like a fish in water. However, this does not mean that it is safe, and no restrictions are not a good thing. The source energy is very primitive, and direct contact is a bit of a burden on the soul. It is not a problem for high-level spellcasters, but it is poison for ordinary people and low-level spellcasters. Their souls cannot withstand this kind of violent energy. In fact, the material plane is a kind of protection for most creatures. It can block the original rough and violent source energy outside. What exists in the material plane is various elemental energies that have been sorted and differentiated. There are many restrictions on high-level spells and legendary spells in the material world. A big reason is that their destructive power is too strong and will cause some damage to the material plane, so the power of spells in the material plane will be weakened. This problem does not exist in the astral world. The vast and boundless astral world can accommodate infinite energy, and there is no weakening at all when releasing legendary spells here. Compared with spellcasters, the astral world is not friendly to physical professionals. There is no land, no gravity, and even no air or water. In this environment, if physical professionals do not have special equipment to enter the astral world, it is equivalent to self-exile. Physical professionals who are used to the material roof will be very uncomfortable after entering the astral world. The void state makes them unable to perform many skills, and without spell protection, they are only a little stronger than ordinary people in the astral world. Most physical professionals enter the astral world in the state of soul projection. The soul state will not be able to minimize the influence of the astral world, but the strength will be reduced in this state. If the body dies unexpectedly, it will not die, but will fall into a weak state for a period of time. Most people who enter the astral world will adopt this method. After all, life is more important. There are many creatures in the astral world. Some evil gods, and gods may wander in the astral world. In addition to these dangerous creatures, the most common in the astral world is the astral whale. This is the descendant of the ancient giant beast Leviathan, but they only inherited part of the blood of Leviathan. They are gentle in nature. As long as they don't attack actively, they are fine. They like to chase astral matter. Now Allen has encountered one. Allen collects astral matter in the astral world, and naturally goes to the surrounding areas rich in astral matter. There are no many restrictions on the material plane here. He runs around like a sacred dragon, and the result is a lot of noise, which attracts the attention of an astral whale not far away. This is an astral whale with a length of about several hundred meters. It is a tiny thing among the astral whales that are more than 10 kilometers in size. After seeing Allen pull the surrounding astral matter together, the little guy opened his mouth and wanted to swallow it. Although he was a small one among the astral whales, he was still a giant to others. Imprisonment. Seeing a huge mouth open, Allen instantly cast a spell to freeze the giant and then speeded up to collect the surrounding astral matter. As a giant beast in the astral world, the astral whale took a bite, and all the astral matter that Allen had spent time collecting would be swallowed by it. Moreover, this kind of astral whale has thick skin and flesh, and it is also difficult to kill it. After collecting the surrounding astral matter, Allen lifted the imprisonment spell. After the astral whale regained its ability to move and saw that there was no astral matter, it shook its head and swam away. Allen wandered around in the astral world. In the past, he was very cautious when he came to the astral world for fear of encountering any danger. At that time, he was weak and did not dare to stay here for long. Now as a high-level legend, he is also a strong man in this starfield, and he still has the ability to protect himself. Since he came to the astral world, Allen is ready to explore here. A world appeared in front of Allen. It was a huge demi-plane, wrapped in a grey plane barrier. It looked like an eggshell. Inside the eggshell was the material plane. Unlike the wizard world, this demi-plane was not a planetary structure, but a continental shelf. This was a demi-plane born in the Source Sea. There are many types of planes, and the planetary structure and the continental shelf structure are the two most common ones. After the demi-plane was born, it would leave the Source Sea and enter the astral world, where it would obtain endless energy as supply. Then the demi-plane would grow slowly, with continental shelves, land, rocks, air, oceans, volcanoes, and even the sun and moon belonging to the plane itself, etc. Finally, it would evolve into a complete material plane that could support intelligent life. The huge demi-plane flew through the astral world at a high speed. Allen chased after it and wanted to enter it, but this demi-plane obviously did not welcome outsiders. The plane barrier was very strong, and it was not easy to enter. Allen flapped his wings a few times, tried a few times, and gave up. The demi-plane quickly disappeared from Allen's vision like a comet. The size of the star world is almost endless, and no one knows where the demi-plane will eventually drift to. Warning, warning. Strong energy fluctuations detected. 95% are void torrents, and 60% are void storms. Please stay away as soon as possible. Please stay away as soon as possible. Void torrents. It's really dangerous. After Allen noticed the energy fluctuations, he waved his huge dragon wings and flew to the side quickly. Void torrents are a kind of energy torrents in the star world. They are more common in the star world. The degree of danger is not high, but it is very troublesome. Void torrents will disrupt the surrounding space coordinates. Once they are engulfed, although there will be no danger to life, they will be swept away and drift to other places. Some void torrents will engulf some unlucky people for a long distance. There is no shortage of unlucky people who are engulfed and lost in the star world. It's like a small sampan in the ocean suddenly encounters a strong ocean current. The ocean current will take you everywhere. If you are unlucky, you may come to an unfamiliar area. Chapter 504 Return to the Star Realm 3. The probability of a void storm erupting is much smaller, but compared to the void torrent, the power of the void storm is much stronger, and the range of influence is also very large. It is equivalent to the super version of the void torrent. The instantaneous eruption of the void storm is likely to take you to a place dozens of light years away, and if you are not strong, you may die in it. The void torrent not far away came quickly and went quickly, and it disappeared completely in a short time. However, after the void torrent disappeared, a large number of other things that were thrown out were left around. Allen's eyes lit up and flew directly over. You must know that the void torrent sometimes brings a lot of things. Although the Star Realm is empty, countless people have entered here from ancient times to the present, bringing all kinds of things. The Star Realm is also called the Void Garbage Dump. Don't be surprised if you encounter anything here. Looking at the disappearing void torrent, Allen flapped his wings twice and flew over. A large amount of broken land appeared in front of him, looking like a half plane of death. There are very few material structures in the Star Realm, and most of them come from other planes. This broken half plane is just garbage floating in the boundless star realm, but the garbage of the star realm sometimes hides a lot of good things. As he got closer, Allen landed on the largest land, which is a land with an area of more than 5,000 square kilometers. It is made of rocks as a whole. It is empty and desolate. There is no breath of life except for the stones. Allen gently crushed a piece of stone, let the chip scan the material in it, and then began to look for valuable things here. A half plane, or perhaps it was a half plane, will still leave some things, even if it dies and collapses. For example, minerals, gems and so on. If you are lucky, it is not impossible to pick up star diamonds. After the death of the half plane, if it has evolved into a material plane, and has given birth to the sun and the moon, it will have more precious star cores. This kind of thing is the best material for making artificial suns, and it is also the main material for making meteorite cannons. Meteorite cannons are more powerful strategic weapons than magic crystal orbital cannons. Meteor means that it can fall stars, but this is an exaggeration. In fact, it is not that powerful. This weapon is the most powerful strategic weapon of the floating city, and its power is far more powerful than the magic crystal railgun. And more importantly, unlike the magic crystal railgun, this meteorite cannon can attack across planes, earth element crystal, garbage, gold ore, even worse, hematite. Allen searched everywhere on this land. Although he found a lot of things, he didn't find anything he wanted. The chip's scanning system scanned back and forth here, marking the things found one by one. Allen looked at the data scanned by the chip, and then continued to fly to the next area. The shattered half plane is very large. There are a lot of land in this area. It looks like an asteroid, moving messily in the star world. All objects in the star world are constantly moving. I don't know where this half plane came from. Allen searched for a long time, and didn't find any rare resources. A lot of ordinary minerals were found, but these are very abundant in the material plane, and there is no need to spend time collecting them from the star world. After searching the land quickly, Allen began to search for smaller lands. Compared with the largest land, the movement speed of these small lands was faster, which increased the difficulty of the search. With a loud bang, Allen's huge dragon body was wrapped with a bright shield, and it crashed into a small land like a comet. Without the protection of the plane barrier, this small land with a radius of less than 1 kilometer was directly smashed into a large number of fragments. Allen stretched his wings, and looked at the broken rocks, and began to collect the resources inside. There is actually a mithril mine. Good luck. The huge dragon claw grabbed a piece of silver metal with a layer of scaly patterns on the metal. This metal is mithril. After scanning the silver mine in this land, Allen carefully explored it, and found the mithril associated mine. There was no way to mine in the astral world in an orderly manner, so Allen adopted this method of crushing mining. Because this half plane was broken into countless pieces when it collapsed, many lands collided with each other, and the structure had already had problems. Allen propped up the protective shield and hit it hard, smashing it directly, and then looking for mithril ore from these fragments. Open a space crack, collect the mithril ore, and then continue to fly to other lands. In the dark astral world, the starlight was shining. Allen dug a piece of earth crystal out of a meteorite, jumped away from the meteorite. I've been out for a long time this time, and it's time to go back. The astral world is worthy of being a garbage dump. There are really many treasures in it, but the range is too large, and you have to be careful of the void torrent. It's almost time to go back. Looking at the surroundings that he had searched, Allen was ready to leave the astral world. Although he would still get something if he continued to search far away, he was already far away from the wizard world. If he encountered some accidents and was dragged away, it would not be easy to return to this area. Chip. Lock the space coordinates of the teleportation array. With a wave of space fluctuations, Allen's figure flashed, and his huge body disappeared without a trace. Because of the scarcity of matter in the star realm, the distance of space spells is very far, and the distance of space nodes in the star realm is also very far. If you use these space nodes, you can teleport hundreds of millions of kilometers at a time, and most of the time, this method is used to travel in the star realm. After passing through the portal, Allen has returned to the vicinity of the wizard world. Plane teleportation. The light blue space door opened. Allen released the dragon form, then stepped through the portal and appeared on the astrology tower the next moment. Stretching lazily, Allen was in a good mood. Well, this time not only are the materials for building the ecological park almost ready, but even the gravity ring is enough. There were no surprises in this star journey, but enough materials were collected. The most collected is the star sand, which is used in many places, but the star matter must be separated and refined before it can be used. The gravity ring and the gravity facilities of the entire floating city have also been put on the agenda. This time we found several earth crystals that can simulate artificial gravity. By the way, the gravity training ground can also be built. The purpose of the gravity training ground is to train melee professions. The gravity in the training ground can be adjusted at will, which is very practical for melee professions. Chapter 505 Alchemy Workshop. Let me see what else is missing. Adamantium, earth crystals, mithril, and earth elemental crystals. And arcane dust. I'll be busy again. Damn it, I should set up an alchemy workshop and assign some simple tasks. Otherwise, so many tasks depend on me alone, and I can't finish them even if I'm powerful. Oh, by the way, build an artificial volcano in the floating city. After the golem factory moves in the future, it will be used to produce some raw materials, and it is also part of the entire floating city's circulation system. It is not difficult to create an artificial volcano in the material plane. As long as you have legendary strength or higher level wizards, you can do it. You just need to choose a good location, and then summon magma. However, it is easy to summon, but difficult to control. It is easy to collapse, if you are not careful. It is easy to detonate, but difficult to suppress. It is not easy to clean up the mess. As for building an artificial volcano in the floating city, this operation is more difficult. The artificial volcano will provide heat for the floating city, and control the temperature changes of the floating city. At least high-level legendary wizards have the ability to do it, and it is easy to damage the floating city if you are not careful, so you must be cautious. If you don't have the ability, don't play around. The maintenance cost of the floating city will make you feel painful. Looking at the astral material in the private space, Allen smiled foolishly. After using the material separation and purification, and then smelting it with elemental fire, you can get the astral sand, which is an important material for many construction borders when combined with other materials. Master. A sound of footsteps came, and then Helen walked in front of Allen. What's wrong? Allen stretched out his hand and rubbed her head and asked. There are some problems in the mission hall. The materials that the master put there for exchange have all been exchanged, and now there are wizards coming to exchange. Helen lowered her head slightly and let Allen rub her head and said, it's exchanged so quickly. I put enough for hundreds of items there. According to my calculation, it can last at least a month. Allen asked in surprise. Helen looked at Allen hesitantly. Do you know the reason? Allen said casually. I think it's because they transferred the points together. Helen thought for a while and said, no wonder. Allen did not consider that other people would transfer the points to one person and then exchange them. The points he set were not low. Even if he worked hard, it would take a lot of time to reach the points for exchange. But he obviously forgot that points can be traded, and Krypton gold is everywhere. There are always some wizards with high net worth who will get points in other ways. Although most low-level wizards are not rich, some wizards are family wizards with the support of their families. They can use magic stones and other resources from other wizards to trade for enough points for exchange. Although the exchange points set by Allen are high, they are still within an acceptable range. After all, Allen still needs those wizards to work hard, although the price is a bit black. I didn't consider it. After hearing Helen's words, Allen understood instantly that thousands of wizards would get a lot of points every day. Although the average is not much, it is very considerable when concentrated together. However, the trading of points is a legal act. There is nothing wrong with others' Krypton gold. How can you be powerful without Krypton gold? But Allen is more miserable. He will be busy in the next period of time. No, we must build the alchemy workshop first. Allen thought about it and prepared to build the alchemy workshop first. He came to the mission hall on the first floor of the wizard tower temporarily closed the exchange project, and then issued a recruitment notice. Long-term mission, recruiting alchemy apprentices. The floating city is about to set up an alchemy workshop. A large number of people need to be recruited. Wizards with alchemy qualifications are preferred. Those without alchemy qualifications need to pass the assessment. The assessment will be held in the alchemy workshop next to the mission hall in 3 days. All wizards are welcome to sign up. Once hired, the treatment will be preferential. Putting the task on the top, Allen commanded several obsidian golems to start building the alchemy workshop. Because of limited time, Allen used fossils as mud to build a simple workshop, and then added hardening techniques to the key parts. A 3-story stone building covering an area of more than 1,000 square meters was quickly built. After letting several obsidian golems make some simple modifications to the alchemy workshop, Allen left here. He needed to go back to prepare the assessment materials. Allen had to do the transformation of the equipment in the Diablo world himself. Although the mermaid maids were quite capable, they knew nothing about alchemy. They all had their skill trees focused on magic cooking and cultivating magical creatures. As for other wizards, Allen did not trust them. Most of the alchemy workshops recruited this time could only do some low-level things, such as extracting essences, smelting materials, etc. Perhaps after the floating city was established, some people would join the floating city and sign contracts to ease the situation. However, this also reduced a lot of work for him. You know, the time spent on processing materials is no less than the time spent on refining magical items. After preparing the materials for the assessment, Allen came to the alchemy workshop early the next morning. As soon as he arrived here, Allen was shocked. At this time, there were thousands of wizards surrounding the alchemy workshop, and the alchemy workshop was surrounded by them. It seems that the situation is better than expected. Allen appeared in the alchemy workshop with a flash of his figure, and then commanded several obsidian golems to check the record qualifications and start the entrance assessment. Soon the assessment hall on the first floor was saturated. You are all wizards who are here to take the alchemy test. I won't say anything extra. Each of you has 3 materials on your desk. This test is very simple. Process the 3 materials according to the process I require. Each material has only 1 chance. Perfectly processing 1 material is worth 10 points. Those with a total score of 24 points will be considered qualified. If the total number of people who meet the score is less than 120, then those with a total score of 22 points or above will have an additional test opportunity, and then they will be ranked according to their scores until 120 people are filled. The test will last for half an hour. If you do not finish after the time is up, you will be treated as a waiver. Cheating is prohibited during the test. Once discovered, you will be disqualified from the test and will be fined 500 points. If you do not have enough points, you will be sent to the construction site for forced labor until you have enough points. Those who pass the test will be officially hired by this workshop. Each job will earn corresponding points according to the workload. At the same time, as an alchemy workshop employee, you can enter the library of the floating city 1 day a month to check. The final right of interpretation of this activity belongs to the Supreme Council of the floating city, and no rebuttal will be accepted. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506 Untitled. The recruitment campaign lasted for 3 days, and Allen recruited 120 alchemy apprentices and alchemists. Most of these people's alchemy attainments were above the standard, and some outstanding ones could even make some low-level magic items. Allen signed a relatively loose employment agreement with them, and the remuneration was points. Now in Allen's floating city, points are a stronger currency than magic stones. In the library that Allen opened, he sorted out a lot of low-level knowledge he collected and optimized it. Compared with the 5 Rings Tower, it is much richer. More importantly, Allen deliberately mixed some advanced knowledge in it, such as some improved spell templates, or some magic item design drawings. These things are very attractive to low-level wizards. Moreover, Allen mixed this knowledge with other books with a bad taste, and it took a lot of time to find it, but he raised the exchange time of the library a lot, so that these people wanted to stay in the library for another day, and they had to work for at least a week. After the alchemy workshop was set up, Allen began to take out various materials and handed them over to these people for processing. He went into the laboratory to transform the equipment. After all, the exchange in the mission hall had been stopped for several days. If he delayed any longer, the wizards would give up. He waved his hand to release the equipment piled up in the private space, and Allen began to speed up the transformation. Most of the equipment in the dark world had similar effects, but because of the size of the power blessing, the chip had sorted out the modified template, and Allen only needed to modify it according to the modification. Soon a pile of equipment was transformed by him, and then he threw it to the steel golem beside him, and asked him to take it to the mission hall for exchange. Batches of equipment and potions flowed through Allen's hands, and then were exchanged by wizards with points. A week passed quickly, and Allen walked out of the laboratory with a beard, and the whole person looked like his body was hollowed out. During this period, thousands of equipment were transformed. Although the difficulty was not high, the high-intensity transformation experiment made him feel mentally exhausted. After a week, he was really tired and didn't want to move. "I need to rest. Don't disturb me unless it's important." After Allen gave the order, his figure flashed and disappeared. The next moment, the protective barrier of the room rose quietly. When Allen woke up, it was already a day later. He stretched his body and stretched his muscles, then asked the tower spirit to notify Selena to prepare a big meal. The empty feeling in his stomach kept coming, and he felt that he could eat a cow. "Master, what do you want to eat today?" Selena quickly came to Allen. "Well, seafood hot pot." Allen thought for a while and said, since these mermaid maids showed their talent for making magic dishes, Allen, who was a big foodie empire in his previous life, sorted out all the dishes he knew and handed them over to Selena. Now Selena has been innovating in magic cuisine, and her cooking skills are also top-notch in the Five Rings Tower. More importantly, she understands Allen's preferences. After giving the order, Selena left directly to prepare. Allen was going to the training ground to stretch his muscles. He had slept for a long time and needed to move around. As soon as they entered the training ground, they heard the sound of bang bang bang. At this time, Douglas and Alex were still being beaten by two steel golems in the training ground. However, compared with the previous time, they could fight back this time. However, they were still beaten black and blue. "It seems that we need to strengthen our training. We can't be so weak. But there is progress. It looks less dry. It turns out that we still need to be beaten." After warming up in the training ground, Allen turned and left, not caring about the two little guys' tearful eyes. During this period, Allen locked them in this training ground and could not leave. Every day, except for eating and sleeping, they were ravaged by the steel golems. Their lives were dark. After warming up, Allen, who felt his stomach growling, went directly to the restaurant. This was the most luxuriously decorated place in the entire floating city. The whole restaurant was decorated with colorful magic lights and looked like a dream. At this time, various ingredients were placed on the European-style dining table, and several mermaid maids brought all the processed ingredients one by one. The hot pot made of purple fire copper was boiling. Allen picked up the chopsticks without saying a word and prepared to eat. Most of the ingredients for the hot pot were taken from the demi-plane. Allen transplanted a large number of animals and plants in the wizard world, and now they have thrived in the demi-plane. Most of the ingredients on the table were seafood. Allen picked up a rainbow lobster and poured it in directly. Rainbow lobsters are produced in the Storm Sea. This kind of lobster is not big, but it tastes delicious, and the meat is tender and elastic. It can be eaten after being rinsed in the soup pot. The delicious seafood is mixed with the soup pot, which is extremely delicious. In addition, explosive peppers are added to the hot pot. This kind of magic plant is very different, extremely spicy, and it will continue to explode in the mouth. That feeling is not enjoyed by ordinary people. After eating a rainbow shrimp, Allen put a king crab in. This is a kind of crab that lives in the Arctic Sea. It is ice blue all over. Because of environmental factors, it grows very slowly. It usually lives in the cold deep sea. This is a magic beast and a little overlord in the deep sea. Two claws can easily break rocks. It was first discovered by a traveling wizard. It tastes delicious and can be eaten raw. What's more, it can enhance the body's resistance to ice element. Because of the small number, difficulty in catching, and high price, Allen went to the Arctic Sea to catch a batch of them and cultivated them in the demi-plane. The king crab on the table has been processed, the internal organs are removed, and it is cut into two halves. After passing it through the soup pot, Allen directly opened the shell and bit it. The combination of king crab and exploding pepper is simply ice and fire. A cold feeling rushed down from the top of the head, and then a burning feeling broke out in the body. The cold and hot alternated back and forth several times, and Allen felt that his soul was about to float. The king crab was solved in a few moves, and then a piece of octopus slices as thin as a cicada's wing was put into the soup pot. This octopus can be eaten raw directly, and the meat is very elastic, but Allen does not like the feeling of the octopus wriggling in the mouth. In the wizard world, wizards prefer to eat this kind of octopus raw. In their words, the feeling of the tentacles wriggling in the mouth is the ultimate enjoyment. Allen felt that the image was too heavy, and he preferred to have the octopus sliced into thin slices, which made it chewy. Chapter 507 Ecological Park. In addition to the seafood, the most common thing in Allen's place is the magic plants. These are vegetables cultivated by Allen using magic plants, but due to technical reasons, there are only a few types, and the taste is so-so, mainly as side dishes. A hearty hot pot made Allen feel very comfortable, especially with the addition of explosive peppers. A warm feeling wandered through the body. Allen, who had a full meal and regained his energy, continued to return to the laboratory. The puppet golem sent the output of the alchemy workshop during this period. These processed materials filled the laboratory. After processing these materials, Allen came to the location of the ecological park. When Allen was looking for materials, the planning here had been completed, and the infrastructure construction was nearing completion. There were many magic beasts sent during this period, but because the ecological park had not been built for a long time, they were all placed in the demi-plane, where a special area was marked out. As Allen prepared the materials, the construction of the ecological park officially began. Various metals were melted by the elemental fire, and then filled along the rune array that had been carved. This was the foundation of the entire ecological park. The limit of the expansion of space in the future depended on whether the foundation was solid. Allen added silver sand and star sand to these metals, so the appearance looked silver and shiny, and there were stars on it from time to time, which looked mysterious and beautiful. Because it had been built in advance, Alu's work progress was very fast. Almost done. Get ready to test it. After the last bit of metal liquid was integrated, accompanied by a bright light, the rune array in front of him began to operate. After putting magic gems into all the energy nodes, the strong elemental fluctuations spread. Allen knew that the foundation of the ecological park was laid. Next, he needed to perform space expansion to increase the area of the ecological park. This step was very critical. Whether the ecological park was big or small in the future would depend on it. The theory of space expansion was a derivative technology based on books such as demi-plane theory, the origin of the plane, space relativity and the Big Bang theory. Allen was already very skilled in using this spell. With his hand clenched, a flash of light appeared, and the artifact staff appeared in his hand. Tower Spirit number 1. Start the elemental furnace. Buzz. With a slight sound, the elemental furnace started instantly, and then a huge amount of energy came from the wizard tower and poured directly into Allen's body. This is an energy technology. As long as the distance is not too far, it can be transmitted through the void by consuming some energy. The huge energy in Allen's body is running fast, and the great wizard robe on his body is instantly swollen. Slowly raising the staff, Allen lightly tapped the void in front of him, as if tapping on a piece of water. Ripple slowly rippled, which was caused by the surrounding space being impressed by this power. Then the surrounding space began to tremble constantly. The energy in Allen's body seemed to have found an outlet and poured into it at a high speed. Finally, a purple-black light spot appeared there. As the purple-black spot was constantly compressed, the surrounding space was also pulled in. A large amount of energy poured in, and the black spot seemed to be a bottomless pit, accepting everything. Soon, Allen's bulging wizard robe slowly fell down. Under Allen's guidance, the energy in the element furnace continued to merge. One hand controlled the wizard's staff, and the other hand continued to add various rare substances. Arcane dust, space crystals, mithril, fine gold, star sand, star diamonds were constantly added into it. A heart-pounding space fluctuation came out. Allen waved the staff, and runes were constantly engraved in it. A large number of runes appeared densely in the surrounding space. The elemental particles around the floating city were also affected and quickly merged into it. As time passed, a small element siphon appeared. Allen's waving staff also slowed down, and the movement looked heavy. With the continuous influx of a large amount of energy and matter, the space node continued to compress, and finally accumulated into a peculiar point. After the node reached its limit, Allen gave up the strong pressure on it, and then the space node expanded instantly, exceeding its original size in an instant, and then continued to expand outward, and the surrounding space was squeezed out of a lot of wrinkles. Allen waved his staff, and began to comb the folds of space. The space nodes continued to expand. Allen gently tapped the ground, and the energy channel opened instantly. The rune array under his feet lit up with a strong spiritual light. The expanding space nodes continued to blend with the rune array, and then merged into one. After obtaining a large amount of elemental energy, the expansion speed of the space node, which had slowed down, accelerated again. Allen's mental power entered the space node, which was an empty void. Feeling that the space node continued to expand, Allen manipulated the energy to continue inputting. Finally, after sensing that the space node expanded to its limit, Allen gently waved his staff. Space solidification. At this time, an area of tens of kilometers has been opened up in the space node. If it continues to expand, the space node will be directly broken, and then a space crack will be formed, swallowing up the open space. The conditions for the use of space development are not difficult. Only a second level wizard can perform it. If combined with a rune array, a first level wizard can barely use it. However, the space opened up is not large, and most of them can only open up a size of tens of cubic meters. The general dimension bag is made using this technology. As the space stabilized, the entire space stage was completely integrated with the rune array under his feet. With the blessing of the rune array, this newly opened space was completely stable, and the space barrier was also strengthened. However, it still needs to be reinforced again in the later stage. Unlike the demi-plane, the space opened by the space development technique is connected to the floating city. You can enter it, as long as you pass the reserved entrance, without the need to use plane teleportation. However, the extra space needs to be filled in, as soon as possible. The newly opened space is empty. You can move basic materials such as soil and water from the material plane into it, or you can summon the 4 element to help them. Allen waved his staff and the powerful energy wave spread instantly. Summon the earth element. The earth element channel slowly opened, and then an earth element elder accepted Allen's call and appeared here. Human, you summoned me? A dull voice came. Spread a layer of rock and soil in this space. Allen nodded and said, okay. The earth element elder slowly raised his arm, and the next moment a yellowish spiritual light flashed from his body, and a little bit of rock and soil was quickly generated, and then expanded to the surroundings, and the speed was getting faster and faster. Chapter 580 Ecological Park 2. The land expanded rapidly, and finally covered the entire space. Mortal, I have fulfilled your request. Allen tactfully handed over several yellow gems that he had prepared. These perfect yellow gems made the Earth Element Elder very satisfied. The Earth Element Elder turned and entered the element channel and left here. After owning the land, the next thing is the water source. This is much simpler. It is easy to do with the artifact of the sea god. Allen gently waved his staff, and a strong magic power appeared. Cloud rain spell. Super magic skill spell extreme effect. A large number of dark clouds gathered quickly. As the dark clouds increased rapidly, the entire space was shrouded, and then thunder roared, and heavy rain fell. The rain penetrated into the soil, making the dry land moist. More rain began to gather, and small streams appeared, and then flowed to low-lying places. Small pools appeared, and the rain gathered, and finally a lake appeared in the space. After seeing that there was enough water, Allen waved his staff, the rain stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and a beautiful rainbow appeared in the sky. After the ecological park was built, Allen began to issue ecological park transformation tasks in the mission hall. The subsequent construction was not difficult. It only needed to be built according to the areas divided in advance. The construction of the ecological park is an important part of the entire floating city ecosystem. It and some other facilities maintain the environment of the floating city close to the material plane. After the ecological park is completed, the gravity ring and the floating ring should be manufactured. By the way, the bioenergy host should also be installed. Allen took out the design drawing of the floating city and calculated. After the element furnace was completed, Allen started to manufacture the floating ring. So far, it will take some time for the floating ring to be completed, because the floating city has reserved upgrade space, and the floating ring also needs to do so. The construction of the gravity ring is to enter the star realm, and the floating city still has gravity close to the material plane. However, Allen has no plan to travel in the star realm, so he is not in a hurry. The construction of the floating city cannot be rushed. If there is a problem in any link, it will eventually lead to big trouble. Allen does not want to see his floating city crash due to some construction problems. In the alchemy workshop, Allen took out some design drawings. These were some low-level accessories in the floating ring. The floating ring used by the floating city was split into many parts by Allen. Each part can be used independently. When combined, it can play a greater role and reserve space for the future upgrade of the floating city. Allen handed over the low-level parts of the floating ring to the alchemy workshop for refining. At the same time, there were more than a dozen magic items that he had designed after improvement. These will be used to maintain the normal operation of the alchemy workshop. Allen selected a wizard named Karen from these wizards as the person in charge of the alchemy workshop. His alchemy level is the highest among these people, but the price is to sign a stricter contract. The difficulty of refining these magic items is not high, but the structure is exquisite and practical. Allen designed the alchemy workshop according to the assembly line mode. Each alchemy item is completed by multiple wizards. The speed is indeed slow at the beginning, and the error rate has increased greatly. However, after a period of running in and improvement, the qualified rate of magic items produced began to increase, and more importantly, the refining speed has increased a lot. Compared with the alchemy workshops built by other wizards, the cost of magic items produced by the assembly line mode under the same conditions is lower, and the probability of failure is greatly reduced as the skills are proficient. More importantly, the wizards in the alchemy workshop are only familiar with part of the manufacturing process, and the confidentiality effect is also greatly improved. Although it is only the simplest assembly line mode, it is more competitive in comparison. Master. With the sound of soft footsteps, Biss's figure soon appeared. She came over with a cup of black tea and leaned over and said, "Count Anthony wants to see you." "Anthony? What does he want?" Allen took the black tea and took a sip and asked, "I don't know, maybe it's because of the food problem. Recently, the construction of the floating city requires a lot of manpower, and the consumption of food has increased by more than 10 times. Not enough food again." Allen frowned when he heard this, but then relaxed. "Please let him in." "Yes." After speaking, he bowed slightly and left. After a while, Biss came in with a middle-aged man, who was as fat as a bull. "Good day, Mr. Allen." Anthony saluted respectfully. "Long time no see, Anthony." Allen smiled and motioned him to sit on the sofa next to him. Biss placed a cup of tea in front of Anthony, and then stood beside Allen. Allen glanced at the mayor of Cullen City. It had been more than 10 years since the two first met. As Allen's spokesperson in the secular world, Allen still gave him a lot of preferential treatment. At least his lifespan increased a lot. "Sir, I'm here to see you this time, because I need to report something to you," Anthony said after considering his words. Although Salt Island is not the most suitable area for growing grain, the yield is still good. It's just that the grain production has been declining continuously since 3 years ago. In the past 3 years, Cullen City has not suffered any natural disasters. We have checked countless times, but we can't find out where the problem is. And when we bought grain from the Kingdom of Callant, we found that the grain production of Callant, as a major grain exporter, also declined on a large scale. We also investigated other countries and found that all the countries in the southeastern sea area had some problems with grain. After listening to Anthony's story, Allen understood that the matter was not simple. There was no natural disaster or man-made disaster, but the grain production had inexplicably declined. Although as a coastal island, there are a lot of fish in the ocean, even if the grain production decline has limited impact on these places, but the inland areas are not the same, and the entire southeastern sea area has problems. Allen doesn't think that other parts of the continent don't have such problems. Wizards generally rarely pay attention to the secular world, so the news from the secular world is very slow to be transmitted to the wizard world. Allen has not heard of problems in other areas yet. I understand. I will investigate. Allen nodded and said, "Thank you for your help." Anthony stood up and saluted, but his fat body looked funny. "There is one more thing I want to ask, sir." Anthony hesitated and said, "Oh, what is it?" Allen waved his hand, and Biss behind him massaged his shoulders skillfully. "I want to use your promise." Anthony gritted his teeth and said, "Promise? Someone in your family has the qualifications of a wizard?" Allen understood after a little thought. Chapter 509 Apprentice. "Yes, sir. My youngest child has been tested and has the qualifications to be a wizard." Anthony bowed and said. Allen could clearly hear the joy in his voice. The probability of ordinary people giving birth to children with wizard qualifications is not high, about only 1 in 1,000. If the father or mother is a spellcaster, then the probability of the next generation giving birth to a child with wizard qualifications will increase greatly, and this probability is about 1 in 50. Only when both parents are wizards, the probability of the next generation giving birth to a child with wizard qualifications will reach 1 in 10. If you have some special bloodlines, the probability of giving birth to a child with wizard qualifications will be further increased. This is how wizard families of all sizes are born. In order to ensure the inheritance of the family, wizard families will do their best to give birth to children, so the direct population of a wizard family can easily reach hundreds of people, and the collateral lineage is even more. Since he has the qualifications to be a wizard, let him come to my wizard tower tomorrow. Allen didn't care about having one more apprentice. He would abide by the agreement and accept him as an apprentice. As for how far this child can go, it depends on him. Allen is not a nanny. "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I will send him here tomorrow." Anthony was overjoyed and thanked him repeatedly. "Don't thank me. This is what we agreed before," Allen said with a smile. "I have something to give you. Please tell me what you want, sir, and I will do it for you." Anthony patted his chest and promised. "I plan to recruit some wizard apprentices in Carlin City, between the ages of 10 and 16, with wizard qualifications. Go and gather all the children of the right age in the entire Carlin City, and I will arrange for someone to go for the test." Allen put down the teacup, stood up and said, "This is a reward for you." He took out a bottle of red potion and handed it to Anthony. "Life potion, can extend life by 20 years. Hearing about extending life, Anthony held his breath instantly, his eyes fixed on the crystal bottle. "Don't worry, sir, I will send the person you need soon." Anthony took the crystal bottle and put it away carefully. With the establishment of the floating city, Allen began to consciously cultivate his own power. After all, it was impossible for him to use all the wizards from the Five Rings Tower in the floating city. In the end, wouldn't this floating city that Allen spent resources to build be built for the Five Rings Tower? There can be wizards from the Five Rings Tower in the floating city, and there can also be wizards from other wizard organizations, but these are all for him. Cultivating his own power is a good choice. Wizard Tower, Laboratory. Allen was debugging a bottle of potion in his hand. Since he decided to recruit apprentices yesterday, Allen was preparing to make a batch of potions. He did not intend to let these apprentices practice slowly step by step, but was ready to take the path of bloodline wizards, or the path of warlocks. A wizard starts from a wizard apprentice, and goes all the way to a formal wizard. If there is resource support, it will take about 10 years to complete. Allen does not have that much time to wait for them to grow, so the faster bloodline wizards and warlocks are the best choice. However, because the physique of ordinary people is too fragile, the strengthening potion used by wizards is poison to ordinary people, and the strong radioactivity in it will kill his body cells. Allen is now mixing the test tube, trying to minimize the radioactivity and side effects in the potion. Most of the potions in the wizarding world have a certain toxicity, which will not cause harm to wizards. The wizard's own resistance can offset them, but for ordinary people, their physique is not enough. Chip. Scan the radioactivity and side effects of this potion. An invisible light wave swept past, and then a large amount of data appeared in front of Allen, and the properties of this potion were all listed. The radioactivity has been reduced by 80%, which has barely met the requirements. After looking at the data, Allen nodded. After several dilutions, the effect of this potion has been reduced many times. Although it still contains radiation, it can be used by most ordinary people. This strengthening potion is used to enhance physical fitness. The drug effect will quickly enter the cells in the body and then strengthen the cells. Because it does not use too many monster materials, the side effects are much smaller. This potion is specially made by wizards for their followers. It was originally used for those knights. The physical fitness of knights is much stronger than that of ordinary people. After using this potion, there is a success rate of more than 80%, and the rest may cause genetic collapse, death, or become a disabled person. Allen is going to use it for those apprentices, to enhance their physical fitness, and then consider going further. After putting away the potion in his hand, Allen took out a heart. This heart is the size of a watermelon and looks strong and powerful, but now there is less than half left, and it is now wrapped in a large piece of crystal. This heart was taken from Smorg. Allen used part of it when he made the dragon potion last time, and now there is still a small half left. Smorg's strength is not very strong. He is only a 3rd level wizard at most. His bloodline potential is limited, but it is enough for those wizard apprentices, and Allen also drew some blood from Douglas and added it. There are some very powerful potions in potion science, but the side effects are also strong, and the materials used are also strange. Corpses, ghosts, and even black wizards use fetuses to make them. When the baby is 6 months old, a solution is injected into its mother's body to dissolve the fetus, to obtain a dead baby solution. The effect is powerful and can upgrade the formal wizard to a level, but the side effects are also strong. When advancing, there will be mental backlash. This direct effect on the mental power is inevitable. If you can't resist it, you will lose your mind and become a lunatic. Now this potion has become a banned drug, and even black wizards rarely use it. After all, the success rate is too low. However, many wizards who have no hope of advancing will secretly make it, wanting to take a gamble. If they can survive and become a 2nd level wizard, they can live for hundreds of years. Allen used bloodline pharmacy and plant pharmacy to make potions. These two potions have the lowest side effects among wizard potions. Among them, bloodline potions have a limitation. After using a bloodline potion, you can only use bloodline potions of the same type in the future. Using other types of bloodline potions is likely to cause bloodline conflicts. Even if you survive the bloodline conflict, you will experience strong rejection at some critical moments, such as advancement. Once this phenomenon occurs, there is a high probability of failure. Chapter 510 Apprentice 2. Allen snapped his fingers, and the crystal that sealed Smorg's heart dissolved silently. A strong burning sensation came from the heart. There was still a small half of Smorg's heart left from the last time he used it to refine the dragon heart potion, which was enough for refining the dragon vein potion. In addition to this half heart, Allen also drew a bottle of blood from Douglas. The little guy's blood was still good. An elemental fire appeared and flew to the heart, and the flame instantly wrapped it. Soon the heart slowly melted in the flame, and drops of red liquid appeared. Then Allen added a bottle of blood to it, and continued to burn it with the elemental fire, and finally got a bottle of gold and red blood. Carefully put the liquid into a special crystal bottle. As the crystal bottle was gently shaken, a trace of golden light kept wandering on the viscous liquid, which looked mysteriously beautiful. As the bottle was shaken, the surrounding elemental particles also rippled slightly. Allen took out the crystal bottle and put it away, then took out a handful of herbs that were gleaming with a faint light, put them into the crucible, and then took out a bottle of blue solution and slowly poured it into it. He summoned the elemental fire and began to heat the crucible. During this process, Allen continued to add other materials. Along with the faint blue flame, these herbs slowly melted and finally turned into a pool of silver viscous liquid. The liquid flickered with stars from time to time as it swayed, looking like a dream. Energy changes detected. The target energy radiation increased, and the energy fluctuations intensified. Okay. The next step is fusion. After checking that the liquid met the requirements, Allen took out the crystal bottle that had just been filled with golden red liquid and began to slowly pour it in with a debugging stick in one hand. The debugging stick in his hand kept stirring. As the liquid merged, strong energy fluctuations were emitted around it. The elemental energy wandering in the laboratory began to gather, and dots of spiritual light flashed. Allen continued to inject magic power into it, and the potion began to boil and evaporate. The real essence was preserved. As Allen merged the last drop of liquid, the liquid slowly returned to calm. Less than half of the liquid was left in the crucible. A faint golden light could be seen flowing on the surface of the liquid. The crystal bottle was gently shaken, and the red liquid inside swayed, with a trace of light golden light flowing in it. Dragon Potion. After use, you can obtain the corresponding dragon bloodline. It looks good quality. After checking the quality of the potion, Allen smiled and put it away. The next step is to dilute this bottle of dragon potion. This potion can only be taken by higher level wizard apprentices or formal wizards. Allen needs to dilute it to a low enough level, and then let those apprentices use it. However, in these diluted potions, other potions need to be added to neutralize them. According to Allen's idea, these people will awaken the dragon vein after taking the potion. This dragon vein is incomparable to Allen's dragon vein and has limited potential. This is just Allen's way of accelerating their growth. The diluted dragon vein potion is the end when it reaches the formal wizard, and then it must rely on traditional meditation and potions to advance. Soon, after Allen diluted and separated the medicines, he put them into test tubes, waved his hand, opened the laboratory and walked out. "But, has Anthony sent those people?" Allen asked casually when he saw Biss at the door of the laboratory. "They have been sent, Master," Biss said softly. "Including Anthony's youngest son, 23 people have been sent this time." "Well, I know." Allen nodded. Bringing Biss to the first floor of the wizard tower, there was a group of teenagers standing here. The teenagers looked a little panicked, but more curious and excited. There are countless rumors about the legend of wizards in the secular world, mysterious, powerful, and various magical abilities, which are the signs of wizards, and some are all kinds of weird potions and terrifying experiments. Allen looked at these people, 23 teenagers, 16 men and 7 women, some dressed new and some old, some dressed gorgeously, and some dressed raggedly, and their common feature was that they had the qualifications of wizards. Congratulations. You have been given a chance to change your own destiny. Since you are here, it means that you have the qualifications of a wizard and have the opportunity to become a wizard. Now here is a contract. After signing it, I will give you this opportunity. Allen snapped his fingers, and 23 contracts appeared in front of him. These contracts were written by Allen, based on the contracts of the Five Rings Tower, and the requirements are stricter than those of the Five Rings Tower. Don't worry, I'm not a dark wizard. I promise not to force you to conduct some human experiments, and I will guarantee your life safety during the learning process. These have been written into the contract. If you agree, then sign this contract. After saying that, he waved his hand, and the contract flew in front of everyone. If you don't want to, you can leave now. As the voice fell, the steel golem guarding the gate moved, and then opened the gate. The 20 or so teenagers looked at each other, and did not move. The scene was quiet for a while. After a while, a boy in gorgeous clothes took the quill pen, and signed his name on the contract. As the last word was written, the contract suddenly burned. The blue flame appeared in an instant, and then disappeared suddenly. The sudden appearance of the flame scared the surrounding teenagers. "Okay, since you have signed the contract, drink this potion. This is a magic potion to improve your physical fitness. Tomorrow someone will come to teach you the knowledge of wizard apprentices. From now on, you will have 20 points and 100 gold coins as rewards every month." Allen waved his hand and took out a bottle of potion. "But this is for you." Allen put down the potion and turned to leave. Even if they have the potion prepared by Allen, these people still need a period of adaptation. After taking the strengthening potion, after half a month of adaptation, they will take the diluted dragon vein potion again, and they will become the lowest level wizard apprentices. As for becoming a formal wizard, it will take a few years. Okay, master. Bis took the potion and said to the others, you have 10 minutes to consider. If you don't make a choice after 10 minutes, you will be deemed to have given up and will be sent out of the wizard tower directly. You only have one chance. After that, he took out a magic clock and set the time. Are you Anthony's son? Bis looked at the first boy who signed the contract and said, yes, respected Miss Bis. The boy said respectfully. Bis nodded and pointed to the seat next to him. Go sit over there. The rest of the people looked at each other, then gritted their teeth, and picked up the quill pen to write their names. One of the ragged boys said timidly, Master Bis, I can't write. He immediately lowered his head. If you can't write, press your handprint. Soon all the boys signed the contract. Bis distributed the potion, and then took these people to the second floor of the wizard tower. From now on, you will live here, each in a room. Except here in the hall, there is no authority to prohibit trespassing in other places. Those who violate the rules will bear the consequences themselves. Chapter 511 Reason. Tower Spirit Number 1. Open the 7th level authority for these people, monitor their physical reactions, and prepare for the basic course tomorrow. After Bis opened the authority for these people, he turned around and left. As for these people, they also needed to take physical strengthening potions. After dealing with the affairs here, Allen set off for the Five Rings Tower. Accompanied by a flash of teleportation spell, Allen appeared near the academy. The academy seemed to be normal. Many wizard apprentices came and went in a hurry. Some places were still under construction, and the transformation of the academy was still going on. Allen found that several towers were being built in the academy. Unlike ordinary wizard towers, these towers were for installing weapons and equipment. They were further strengthening the defense of the academy. Sir Allen, you are back. Wizards greeted Allen along the way. As a legendary wizard in the academy, his reputation is still very high. Where is the dean? Allen stopped a high-level wizard and asked. The dean is in the tower. Allen soon arrived at the tower. A second-level wizard stood at the door and immediately greeted Allen when he saw him coming. Sir Allen, the dean is waiting for you upstairs. I see. Allen nodded and walked into the tower. Allen came to the top of the wizard tower without stopping. Alfred was sitting behind the desk, operating a few quills to write and draw. When he saw Allen come in, he pointed to the seat and said, Allen, take a seat first. I'll be there soon. After about 3 minutes, Alfred finished writing, waved his arm lightly, and the quill disappeared, and then put away a magic scroll. Allen, is there anything wrong? Alfred asked after handing Allen a cup of black tea. This is the news I got. Allen took the black tea, put it on the table, and then took out a scroll and handed it to Alfred. Alfred took the scroll and returned to his seat to open it. Mr. Dean, this is the situation in the southeastern sea area. I think I have sent people to investigate. The situation is indeed so. The grain production in these areas has continued to decline for 3 consecutive years, and there have been no natural disasters or man-made disasters in these 3 years. Because there has been no large-scale unrest, although the grain production has decreased, there has been no famine so far, but the stock is not large. This is the data I sent people to collect. The closer to the inland, the more obvious the grain inspection problem is. Some places have already reduced production by 40%. Then I sent people to observe other plants, and found that other plants also withered to varying degrees. I suspect that this is not a natural phenomenon, but a man-made one. I hope the college will investigate other places as soon as possible. We need to figure out the scope of this matter. Allen told Alfred what he knew. Alfred's expression became solemn after understanding the seriousness of the matter. Wizards rarely pay attention to the affairs of the secular world. If Allen hadn't told them, the Five Rings Tower would not know that such a thing had happened. Alfred looked through the data collected by Allen, and the more he looked, the tighter his frown became. As a wizard, although he didn't care about those mortals, he also knew that the secular world was the foundation of the wizarding world. If there were major problems in the secular world, it would shake the foundation of the entire wizarding world. Now the secular world's food production has continued to decline, and it has reached the warning line. If we don't respond quickly, when things continue, a great famine will break out. At that time, the total population will drop sharply, which will seriously affect the number of new blood in the wizarding world. After reading the data, Alfred took out a communication crystal and said a few words, and then said to Allen, I have ordered them to collect information. If it's fast, there will be news tomorrow. 2 days later, the tower masters of the astronomical observatory and the 5-ring tower, as well as some high-level wizards, all arrived. Alfred's figure was suspended in the air. At this time, his beard and hair were all stretched out, and there was a strong elemental energy around his body. A crystal ball was suspended in front of him. As a roundabout and obscure spell came from him in the air, another force surrounded him. He was casting a prophecy. With the invasion of the abyss, it became increasingly difficult to obtain information through prophecy. Alfred was the most skilled prophet in the 5 Rings Tower, and now he was casting it himself. A strong elemental fluctuation came, and Alfred's body trembled slightly. Then he opened his eyes, and his breath fluctuated violently. After a while, he calmed down and slowly fell to the ground. Bang! With a light sound, the floating crystal ball instantly shattered, and the stars of magic aura scattered and disappeared. Mr. Dean! Mr. Dean! Everyone rushed forward to check. I'm fine. Don't worry. Alfred breathed a sigh of relief and slowly waved his hand and said, with the power of the spell, I saw some pictures. There is the shadow plane. Also, I saw the projection of the Abyss Evil Sunday. That's why the spell was interrupted. Fortunately, I was prepared, and only damaged a high-level crystal ball. We must stop them, otherwise the wizard world will become more and more barren, and the earth will crack, and the rivers will dry up, gradually transforming into the Abyss Plane. Shadow Plane? Abyss Evil Sun? Allen frowned and said, let's pass the message to other wizard organizations first. I think we may be in big trouble. Wizard Victor, you go and pass the message to the Wizard Union and the Northern Witches. Selina, you go and inform Sir William, and ask him to come to the academy immediately. Nicholas, go and prepare some scrolls and props. Fagiel, are the combat wizards ready? Alfred instructed the others. Allen was not very familiar with the shadow plane. It was a transitional plane, a place emitting dark light. It was connected and coexisted with the main material plane. It was one of the planes that overlapped with the main material plane the most. Strictly speaking, the shadow plane was a large semi-material plane, a plane between matter and energy. From the shadow plane, you can basically reach most of the plane worlds. There are also plane travelers who use it to quickly travel long distances. There are many unpredictable dangers in the shadow plane, especially in some areas where space overlaps, where space and time are a bit chaotic, and you will be caught in the space turbulence if you are not careful. There are many dangerous and powerful creatures in the shadow plane, the most common of which is the shadow dragon. In the shadow plane, there are a large number of shadow dragons. As a kind of true dragon, shadow dragons are not weak in strength, and in the shadow plane they can blend into the shadows anytime and anywhere, making them very difficult to deal with. Chapter 512 Shadow Plane. Shadow Plane. When Allen entered here through the plane transmission, a grey world appeared in front of him. As Allen entered the shadow plane, his whole body was stained with a grey tone. The shadow plane does not exclude other colors, but all people or objects entering the shadow plane will be grayed. That is, there will be a layer of shadow like grey on the surface. This change comes from the rules of the shadow plane. Unless some spells are used to bless and change it, no one can resist it. The shadow plane is monotonous in color, only white and black, and the objects that exist in the real plane also exist in the shadow plane. It looks like the shadow plane is the shadow of the material plane. Similarly, this plane also has the sun, and even rain, snow, hail, and storms also exist, but the color is always gray. Even the sun is the same. Alarm. Alarm. Negative energy fluctuations are detected. Scan the breath of the undead. Scan the negative energy spirit. Scan the breath of the abyss. Radiation intensity increased. Higher element resistance. Allen cast a spell on himself and began to observe the surrounding environment. It was the first time for Allen to enter the shadow plane, but he still knew the basic information of this plane. As soon as he entered here, he felt the breath of the abyss. The shadow plane and the main material plane are inextricably linked, and many places are surprisingly similar. For example, if there is a mountain here in the main material plane, then there will also be a mountain here in the shadow plane, but there are also differences. For example, the buildings here are not necessarily exactly the same as those in the main material plane, but they will definitely be the ones that the main material plane once had. This is the projection of the material plane. For unknown reasons, a shadow plane that is highly similar to the material plane appeared. Sure enough, there is a problem here. Allen pulled a grey-green weed from the ground and checked it and said, "The grass has been stained with the breath of the abyss. Although the shadow plane is rich in negative energy, it is not the abyss, and there will be no sulfur smell and the rancid smell of the abyss. In addition to these, there are many mists in the shadow plane. The mist is hazy, making the already grey shadow plane even more blurred." Allen clearly sensed that the negative energy in the fog had changed significantly, and some twisted shadows were floating aimlessly. This kind of semi-energy life is the native of the shadow plane. They have obvious soul characteristics. Many wizards believe that they are transformed by souls. Twisted shadows are immune to 80% of physical attacks, and some powerful ones are even completely immune. They are born with the ability to hide, and can hide in the shadows. Ordinary weapons have limited damage to them. Moreover, this kind of thing is gregarious, and they appear in groups. Eye of Detection. Allen casually released the detection spell and let them collect information about this plane. The Eye of Detection is a high-level spell that can summon one or several eyes. These eyes have no entity, move very fast, have invisibility, and have a good hiding effect. They are immune to most physical attacks, and have a certain resistance to spells. After the improvement, this spell has a higher concealment. The fog slowly dissipated around, and some twisted shadows and ghosts hid in it. As Allen entered the fog, some ghosts and twisted shadows began to sneak up on him. Daylight. Soul shock. A bright light like daylight suddenly appeared, followed by a soul wave sweeping across. The twisted shadows and ghosts around let out a shrill scream, and then completely dissipated in the magic aura. Crack. A slight sound came, and Allen frowned, then looked around. There were many strange things in the shadow plane, with various strange abilities, some of which even Allen felt a headache. There were almost no living creatures with flesh and blood in the shadow plane, so the creatures here were quite rare, desolate, and barren. The life forms here were not friendly, because the negative energy was strong. They were very aggressive, and in essence, closer to the lower plane. Crack. The ground under his feet trembled slightly, and Allen immediately felt something in the soil. Under the soil? Undead. A snap of his fingers, Allen's body flew off the ground, and then looked at the place where he had just stood, only to see a pile of earth like a grave rising on the ground, and the next moment a skeleton claw stretched out from the pile of earth. Then the soil flew, and skeletons of the dead came out from inside. These undead were more than 2 meters tall, with thick bones and a metallic luster. Their 2 arms had mutated, one turned into a sharp bone spur, and the other turned into a hideous bone sickle. There were bone spurs on the joints of their bodies, which looked hideous and terrifying. Bone Demon. Seeing the form of these skeletons, Allen recognized them instantly. They were the product of the evolution of the skeleton, and their strength should not be underestimated. Seeing these undead creatures, Allen was not in a hurry to take action. Although he was not a necromancer or a necromancy school, his understanding of the undead was not low at all. You should know that the undead black scripture is a complete collection of black magic, and there is also a lich mentor. These undead creatures in front of him may be a big trouble for other wizards, but for Allen, they just consume some magic power. Soul calming disperse. A little golden aura burst out from Allen's hand. The spell from the sun golden scripture had a restraining effect on the undead. As the golden light spread instantly, all the undead skeletons were swept away. Clang, clang. The sound of bones falling and crashing continued to come. All the skeletons and undead were destroyed, and the fire of souls drifted away. The strong negative energy around was swept away, and the ghosts hidden in the fog also avoided here far away. Even the fog around was dispersed. Seeing that there was no other discovery around, Allen's figure flashed and disappeared. As Allen left, some ghosts came here again. Their goal was to understand the strong power of death around. A large number of undead died, and the power of death around was strong. It was a great tonic for those ghosts. Allen's figure suddenly appeared above a twisted shadow forest. There was no fog here. In Allen's perception, there were many living things in the shadow forest below. The reconnaissance eye passed the picture over, and the grey light and shadow appeared in front of him. There was a group of twisted shadows entrenched here. The twisted shadows had no wisdom, and their actions were more from instinct. They had no fixed nests, did not need to eat, and wandered around aimlessly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513 Shadow Plane 2. This kind of monster will not leave any traces when it moves, and can hide in the shadows, so in many cases you can't determine their location at all. Until they attack, you will know that they are hiding in the shadow nearby. Fortunately, the group of monsters has no intelligence, otherwise they would be a group of extremely dangerous assassins. Just after Allen appeared here, a black shadow instantly appeared behind him. Bang! Just as the black shadow pounced on it, it flew backwards at a faster speed, and was instantly hit by a red ray. Then it was swallowed by the orange-red flames, and turned into a pile of ashes in a few breaths. At the moment Allen was attacked, the monsters hiding in the dark appeared one after another, and pounced on Allen. Exploding flames. A ball of flame exploded instantly, blowing the black shadow that pounced on it directly away, and the gravel and trees were broken and knocked away one after another. But the next moment some black shadows with minor injuries pounced on it again, and a cold light flashed in front of Allen's eyes. But before they could attack Allen, they stopped in place with strange postures. Group monster immobilization spell. He stretched out his hand and grabbed it. An energy hand appeared, grabbed one of the monsters, and lifted it over. Assassin? Allen looked at the figure that the wizard's hand grabbed. It was a little different from the demon in his memory. It was grey all over, but Allen still recognized it. Psychological suggestion. Read memory. Reaching out to control the demon, Allen began to directly look through its memory. As time went by, his face became more and more gloomy. Half an hour later, after reading the memories of all the demons around him, he threw them away. Allen used such a rough way to invade their souls and read their memories. The souls of these demons have been severely damaged and have become idiots. Through the memories of those demons just now, things are worse than he expected. The will of the abyss has begun to invade the shadow plane corresponding to the wizard world on a large scale. The connection between the shadow plane and the material plane is very strange. Many things in the material plane also exist in the shadow plane. Although there are some changes compared to them, there is a mysterious connection between them. Changes in the material plane will affect the shadow plane, and similarly, changes in the shadow plane will also affect the material plane, but this effect is very slow, and usually takes several years or even decades. Since the last time the invading demons were resolved, the wizard world has been quiet for a while. After a big battle with the demons in the Tebas world, Allen thought they would be quiet for a while. Unexpectedly, these demons learned to be smart, and did not directly attack the main material world, but ran to the shadow plane to make a move. After these demons came to the shadow plane corresponding to the wizard world, they began to inject abyss energy into the land here. Although there are many creatures in the shadow plane, there is no way to stop the demons. This group of demons successfully injected abyss energy into the earth, and then because of the changes in the shadow plane, it affected the wizard world through an inexplicable connection, so the wizard world began to change after a few years. If no one stops it, and lets these demons continue, it won't be long before the land of the wizard world will be polluted by abyss energy. There will be no food output on the land of the wizard world. The entire secular world will be defeated by famine, and the will of the abyss will come again. The plane where demons live belongs to the lower plane, usually close to the level of negative energy, but not too close to the kingdom of the god of death. The Styx will pass through many planes from the void and finally enter the underworld. The abyss plane and Beta Hell are both here. Their favorite and most exciting thing to do is to steal souls from the hands of the god of death. The material plane is in the middle layer of the multiverse. There are many derivative planes around the material plane. All material planes such as the spirit world, shadow plane, and any plane are protected by an invisible barrier. This barrier will prevent people or other creatures with too strong power from entering. When the energy level exceeds the upper limit of the plane, it will be rejected and directly pushed out of the plane. In the explanation of Eastern Immortals, it is ascension. This is why the gods cannot enter the material plane. They can only enter through incarnations or clones. The shadow plane is close to the lower plane, and the repulsion to the will of the abyss is much smaller. In comparison, it is easier for demons to enter here. 5 Rings Tower. Alan and Alfred sat quietly in the chairs waiting for the return of others. Like Alan, other wizards in the 5 Rings Tower also went to other places in the shadow plane to investigate. Mr. Dean, Mr. Allen. The other tower masters have returned. A wizard walked in and said. One after another, the other tower masters all came back, but they looked a little tired. Alan got bad news from them. All the shadow planes explored have found traces of demons. The wizards missed one thing. Because of negligence, a large number of demons entered the shadow plane. At this moment, Alan felt great pressure. The power of the abyss will is very strong. There are also enough demons. Compared with the time it takes to train a wizard, the abyss can give birth to more demons. Although the power of the abyss will, and the demons cannot be concentrated due to the chaos, these powers are enough to suppress the abyss in the wizard world. Although the abyss will, cannot descend to the shadow plane, some demon lords do not have this restriction. Alan does not believe that the abyss will, that wants to make trouble will not send demon lords. You must know that with the power of those middle and higher level demons, they are not capable of making trouble in the shadow plane. I need to go back to the Southeast Sea area, Alan said. Sir William, notify him to come back as soon as possible. There are other wizard organizations. The enemy we are facing this time is unprecedentedly powerful. If we are not careful, the entire wizard world will be completely destroyed. Alan was going to go back to prepare some things, and his equipment needed to be upgraded. The Archmage robe was made before he advanced to the legendary level. Now it can't keep up with his pace. He is going to upgrade it. It is very likely that he will face more than one demon lord this time. Although he is already a high level legend, he is not completely sure about the many abyss lords. He needs to prepare. The 5 Rings Tower also began to prepare. A lot of information was passed on. The Wizard Alliance and the Northland which soon got the news. After a brief discussion, the 2 wizard organizations also began to operate. Other small organizations attached to the 3 major wizard organizations also received news of preparations. For a time, the atmosphere of the entire continent became tense. Thanks to the book Friend Fantasy Snow for the reward of 500 starting coins. Chapter 514 Upgrading Equipment. A beam of teleportation light rose, and Alan's figure appeared on the astrolabe. This time he came back. He was going to upgrade the Archmage robe. This equipment was only at the quasi-legendary level before, and this time Alan was going to upgrade it to a legendary equipment. Each legendary equipment requires a lot of resources, and for his own safety, Alan was still willing to spend money. After saying hello to a few maids, Alan went directly to the warehouse of the Wizard Tower. Authorization passed. Open the passage. With the sound of cold metal, 5 pale golden closed metal doors opened one after another. After the door opened, a diamond golem and 4 steel golems appeared in front of him. A red light shot out from the chest of the diamond golem, covering Alan. This was a trap designed by Alan. The verification system of the diamond golem was different from that of the tower spirit. If the person covered by the light had abnormal movements, he would attack directly. With a gesture, the light of the diamond golem converged. Verification passed. A cold mechanical sound rang out, and the diamond golem returned to its original state. After entering the treasure house, taking out the necessary materials, closing the door, Alan went directly to the laboratory. With a snap of his fingers, the robe of the Archmage on Alan flew out directly, and a strong body appeared. He took out a piece of clothing and put it on, and Alan began to upgrade his equipment. The material used for this Archmage robe is smog skin. Dragon skin is tough and has good magic conduction. It is a good material for making wizard robes. At the beginning, Alan was not strong enough. Although he made the Archmage robe, he reserved a place for upgrading. The Archmage robe at the time was actually just a semi-finished product. After taking out the necessary materials and putting them on the shelf, Allen took a deep breath. Chip. Call out the design of the Archmage robe. Turn on the auxiliary mode. A silver rune carving knife appeared in Allen's hand. After preparing everything, Allen began to carve on it carefully. The original rune array was not destroyed. Allen continued to add to these rune arrays. Fortunately, the original design was like this, otherwise this high-level equipment would have to be abandoned. This time, Allen planned to add a legendary energy field and a legendary spell sequence to it, and use the value of this dragon skin to the limit. In addition to this equipment, Allen is going to make a headband. Its main function is to resist sonic waves, succubus, and control effects, and to increase resistance to mental spells. At the same time, it will automatically maintain a constant, steel will, effect, which is specifically used to fight against mental spells. You must know that the Abyss Will is a huge consciousness collection, with the Abyss evil energy and mental psychic energy. It can affect the will of so many demons. You can imagine how powerful its psychic energy is. Allen will sooner or later face the Abyss Will, and he doesn't want to be broken by it at a glance. The succubus and lust demons among the demons are proficient in mental spells and have control abilities. Legend has it that the succubus queen has the ability to corrupt the gods, which must be vigilant. As long as you wear this headband, you can ignore most mental spells, and at the same time, increase the will judgment. Allen is going to make it into a legendary item. The design of the headband is very beautiful. This is selected by Allen after referring to many drawings. You must know that being powerful is a matter of version, but being handsome is a lifelong thing. Mind Ring uses Austrian steel as the theme. The silver white ring flashes with a faint blue light. It is inlaid with 5 gems, 1 large and 4 small. These are perfect gems synthesized by Allen using the Heraldric cube. After being enchanted, they are inlaid. The whole ring is densely engraved with a large number of runes. The runes are light gold, and the overall look is like a decorative pattern. Archmage robe is the equipment that Allen has spent the most energy on. Its effect is the most powerful besides the artifact staff. It is engraved with a concealment array that can hide the user's breath. The dragon skin is tough. After being strengthened by runes, it has a good defense. When attacked, it will instantly open the attached legendary energy shield, which can resist legendary physical or spell attacks. The legendary spell sequence can bless several legendary spells in advance and instantly stimulate them when the requirements are met, or release them autonomously. Allen uses it with the accidental spell. When the subject is controlled by the control spell, the spell sequence will automatically start. This is a means for wizards to save their lives. When activated, the legendary spell sequence has the effects of instant spell and multiple casting, and at the same time has the super magic skills of the blesser. This is the core of this robe of magic. Of course, the most important thing is that it looks very handsome and cool, better than before, so that it can better set off Allen's temperament. The whole work took Allen more than half a month. After consuming a lot of rare materials, Allen's whole body has been completely renewed. In addition to the robe of magic, Poseidon staff, headband of mind, and ring of focus, he also copied some legendary scrolls. The materials of these scrolls were the dragon skin of Smorg. After making the Archmage robe and several dragon scale leather armors, the remaining corners were collected by Allen as the copying material of the legendary spell scroll. After all, if you want to accommodate the strength of the legendary spell, ordinary rune paper is not enough. Only the skin of high-level magic beasts can be used. These spell scrolls include Summon Elemental Legion, Fire, and Meteor spell, and other spells. After finishing all of them, Allen came to the Golem factory in the demi-plane. At this time, the Golem factory was still producing golems in an orderly manner. Allen came to the Obsidian Golem warehouse. At this time, thousands of obsidian golems were quietly standing in the warehouse covering tens of thousands of square meters. These obsidian golems have been activated, but they are now in a dormant state. As long as Allen orders to activate them, the golem army in front of him will wake up instantly. After checking these obsidian golems, Allen came to the iron golem warehouse. Compared with the obsidian golems, the number of iron golems seemed pitifully small. There were less than 100 iron golems standing in the entire warehouse, plus the iron golems guarding various places in the wizard tower, a total of only 120. These iron golems have not been activated yet, and Allen needs to cast Soul Construction and activate Constructed Life. This is also Allen's purpose this time. Facing the upcoming cross-dimensional battle, he prepared the golem army. You know, the shadow plane has been invaded for quite some time, and there will be a lot of high-level demons entering here. Allen and his team will most likely have to face the demons' human wave tactics, which is simple and crude but very effective. It is unknown how many planes have been defeated by the demons' human wave tactics. Chapter 515 Demon. The only one in the multiverse that can compete with the demons in number is the interstellar Zerg. This is an extremely terrifying race. Unlike the extreme chaos of the demons, the Zerg is an absolutely orderly race. Each Zerg swarm has only one voice, that is the brain worm. The other worms have no self-consciousness. They will only act according to the instructions of the brain worm. If the brain worm dies, the Zerg will be in chaos and even kill each other. The Zerg swarm with the brain worm is an army, iron-blooded and cold. Compared with the demons, the Zerg swarm is a more dangerous creature. During the Arcane Empire, as long as the Zerg swarm is discovered, it will gather strength to destroy it as soon as possible, because the development ability of the Zerg swarm is extremely terrible. They will plunder various resources and then reproduce. The planes or planets occupied by them will eventually be completely digested by them. They are the most dangerous things in the multiverse. However, the Zerg swarm was not strong in the early stage. The earlier it was discovered, the easier it was to destroy it. The initial brain worm could be solved by a formal wizard. Once the Zerg swarm develops to a certain extent, they can easily sweep the world relying on the desperate number of the Zerg swarm. And the strength of the brain worm becomes more and more powerful as the number of Zerg swarms increases. The brain worms of that period had powerful psychic powers, and a single psychic shock could wipe out all those below the legendary level. In comparison, the Abyss demons were not good enough. Because of the chaotic nature of the demons, they were always keen on killing each other, which even the demon lords and the will of the Abyss were powerless to do. Therefore, although the individual strength of the demons was higher than that of the Zerg and their numbers were not inferior, they were not as terrifying as the mature Zerg army. It was also because of this that in the battle between the Abyss and Beta, although the number of demons was far greater than that of the devils, it was often the devils who pressed the demons to the ground and rubbed them. In addition to the chaotic nature of the demons, another reason was that the demons' strength had degenerated. In the era of the ancient gods of order, the Abyss demons were able to compete with those ancient gods. The first generation of demons in that period were pure void life, also known as void demons. The number of demons in this period was not large, but the power of each demon was extremely terrifying. In the late period of the ancient gods, the void demons created the second generation of demons, the Orbis demons. This kind of demon is equally powerful, slightly inferior to the void demons, but has an absolute advantage in number. As a result, the chaotic nature of the demons made them eliminate the already few void demons and become the new masters of the Abyss. The birth of the devil was also in this period. A group of order ancient gods and ancient angels gradually became corrupted during the long-term fight against the void demons, and then their appearance became hideous and terrifying. The order ancient gods wanted to judge them, but the cunning demons found loopholes in the order code, which made the order ancient gods suffer a dumb loss. From then on, in addition to order and chaotic neutral, there were also goodness and evil in the multiverse. However, although the devil got rid of the order ancient god, he also belonged to the order camp and always abided by the contract he made with the order ancient god. The birth of the third generation of demons originated from the emergence of humans. For countless years, the Orbis demons have been fighting against the hell of Beta. They obtained the genes of the Zerg in the multiverse and integrated them into it, giving birth to soul worms, and then the Zerg demon lords appeared. After the birth of humans, the Orbis demons found that this weak soul actually had so many emotions: arrogance, jealousy, rage, laziness, greed, gluttony and lust. This is simply specially prepared for demons. So these Orbis demons did the same thing as their creator, the Void Demon, and created the third generation of demons, Tannery demons. The third generation of tannery demons is weaker than the Orbis demons, but the number has exploded. It is also from this area of demons that the number of demons in the abyss began to double. As a result, the third generation of tannery demons repeated the route of the second generation of Orbis demons, killed the second generation of Orbis demons, and completely became the master of the abyss. This is also the mainstream form of the abyss today. The famous succubus, Bela, and deceiver all belong to the third generation of demons. As for the fourth generation of demons, it was after other races joined. After other unexpected creatures joined the demon camp and became demon lords, in order to transform their own kind into demons, they developed a transformation ritual that could turn minotaurs, gnolls, ghouls, orcs and other creatures into demons. However, compared with the previous 3 generations of demons, the genetic technology of this generation of demons is too poor. No, it cannot be said to be poor, but it should be perfunctory. These races were transformed into demons by adding a demon template and then became abyssal minotaurs, abyssal gnolls, abyssal orcs, and abyss ghouls. In the wizard's knowledge classification, they are divided into a special rank, the abyss subspecies. After the end of the age of the ancient gods, the first generation of void demons that could fight against the ancient gods of order died or retired. The demons that were once the nightmare of the multiverse and defeated many planes were gone forever. The second generation of Orbis demons were no longer the opponents of the ancient gods of order. The third generation of tannery demons were suppressed by the gods, so much so that in order to strengthen the power of the abyss will accepted other races to join the demon camp and become demon lords. The demons of this period were really no good. It was also during this period that the Arcane Empire reached its peak, and then the great arcanists began their journey to conquer the heavens and the worlds. One plane after another was discovered and colonized, and the extremely powerful Arcane Empire began to extend its claws into the abyss. This is also the first time, since the birth of the multiverse, that the abyss has been invaded by other creatures. The demons that were once the nightmare of the multiverse have become so weak that the abyss planes are occupied by the Arcane Empire. Then the powerful Arcane Empire began to transform these planes, extracting the power of the abyss and injecting the energy of the 4 element into the lower planes, transforming them into material planes suitable for human habitation. Allen even suspected that the Tebas plane was originally a lower plane transformed by the Arcane Empire, because compared with the wizard world, the plane will of that plane was too weak. Although the abyss demons have been weakened to this extent, no matter how much they have declined, the demons are still difficult enemies to deal with in the multiverse. The indigenous civilizations and spellcaster civilizations that have not entered the interstellar era are still not their opponents. Chapter 516 Demon 2. The routine of the abyss invasion is that some demons or demon lords accidentally discovered a plane and then entered through projection, smuggling and other methods. If the will of this plane is strong, it is difficult for them to enter, so they will use various means to send some demon books over. You should know that in the multiverse, it is not only the devil who likes to deceive people, but also the fraud demon and the succubus are good at it. These demon books will be disguised, and then they will send these things to people who hope to gain powerful power through some accidents, such as the kind of family that has died, and only one person is left, who wants revenge and power. This kind of person has a deep blood feud, and has been blackened and corrupted for power, and is the best trading partner. For example, create some adventures, let some waste materials get a ring or other things, and there will be an old grandfather disguised as a demon. He will selflessly help you, guide you, and make you stronger step by step. In this process, your soul will be more and more involved with this demon. Finally, when you follow the route he gave you to the end, the same able old grandfather who specializes in helping the protagonist will reveal his true face, devour your soul, and occupy your body. There are also some books of demons, which contain some power of demon lords. People who get these books can build summoning altars according to the description of the demon books, and then summon demons in exchange for power. However, people who do this will basically be taken away by demons, including their souls. In the books, the altars are described as being able to exchange for power, but in fact, demons will not abide by the contract at all. They will only rudely extinguish your hope and take away your soul life. However, there is also a risk in doing this, that is, encountering a powerful wizard. You must know that wizards have a tradition of seeking death since ancient times. They like to study various things. Since the decline of the abyss demons, wizards and arcane masters have included demon lords in their research. Even in the history that Allen knows, spellcasters often summon demons and then conduct research and enslave demons. For a period of time, arcane masters would enslave one or two succubi or sensuality as personal maids. As an arcane master, if you don't have a succubus maid, you will be laughed at in the communication of arcane masters. Arcanists have specially established a discipline called demonology. The content of this discipline is to teach arcanists to study demons, enslave demons, and train succubi. Succubi, as a demon with gorgeous appearance and explosive body, are very consistent with human aesthetics. You only need to use transfiguration to transform their reversed cow hooves into long human legs, which is basically the same as human women. Moreover, compared with human women, succubi are more interesting, charming and beautiful, with their own charm effect, excellent bed skills, charming voices, small and exquisite pointed horns on their heads, naughty and cute little tails on their buttocks, a pair of small wings on their backs, strong and durable bodies, and long lifespans. They are definitely the best maids among arcanists and other spellcasters. Succubi maids have many advantages, such as they like small whips, their bodies are flexible enough, and their vitality is strong, which can meet almost any of your requirements. After careful training, succubi maids are very popular in arcanist transactions. Allen has studied demonology in depth. After all, if you want to defeat your enemy, you must thoroughly understand your enemy. Allen feels that only paper research cannot solve all problems. It is better to catch some demons and do it yourself. It is better to observe and study them closely. After all, there is a gap between books and reality. How to defeat the abyss demons without a thorough understanding. In the early stage of the abyss invasion, high-level demons will not directly enter the material plane, but will adopt a projection mode to project part of their own power and soul power to the material plane. Although this approach reduces some strength, it ensures safety. After the projection dies, the main body will only lose part of its soul power and strength, and it will recover after a period of rest. However, this mode is only effective for humans or other creatures. For the ancient gods of order and the later gods of faith, they can directly wipe out demons. However, using this ability also requires some cost. The stronger the demon, the greater the cost. If the demon's strength is not much different from that of the gods cannot wipe it out. The god of death is an expert in this. After manufacturing and upgrading the equipment, Allen activated all the steel golems he had manufactured, cast, soul construction, and activate constructed life, and then let these steel golems continue to sleep and wait for summons. He himself was preparing to make some equipment for Abyss. This time when he went to the shadow plane, he planned to take the little maid with him. After all, as a shadow assassin, the little maid naturally occupied the home advantage in the shadow plane. She could enter the shadow anytime and anywhere like the creatures of the shadow plane, and had the ability to shuttle through the shadow. The shadow assassin has strong attack power and outstanding reconnaissance ability, and is like a fish in water in the shadow plane. Allen specially used rare materials such as Austrian steel and silver gangshire to create a pair of daggers. The dagger is about 1 foot long, grey in color, with 2 blood grooves on it. Allen blessed it with attributes such as armor breaking, weakness, bleeding, and sharpness, and even inlaid it with perfect level air element magic gems, making the attack speed of this pair of daggers very exaggerated. This is also the first legendary equipment Allen made besides his own equipment. In addition to the pair of daggers, Allen also prepared other equipment for him, a pair of high-level magic items, anti-magic rings, and leather armor called Night Walker, of quasi-legendary quality. This leather armor is also made of Smorg's dragon skin. Compared with Archmage robe, the selected parts are tougher, not as soft and comfortable as Archmage robe. The effect of this Night Walker leather armor is quite powerful. First of all, it has defensive power. This leather armor is blessed with the Iron Wall rune, which can withstand heavy blows. At the same time, it is engraved with the effects of concealment, stealth, and breath-retaining lamps. It has a strong stealth ability, and can approach silently. It also has high spell resistance, is immune to most mental control, and increases the ability to dodge in battle. The whole leather armor is a set of tights with a constant temperature effect. In addition to this, Nightwalker, leather armor, Allen also made a pair of boots for Biss, which are also higher level magic items. This pair of boots was completed by Allen by transforming a dark gold equipment in the Diablo world. Chapter 517 Shadow Plane 3. This pair of boots is called Leaper Boots, which increases the bounce. Allen has re-engraved runes such as light as a swallow, feather falling, and speed up. It can greatly increase the running speed, and at the same time, it can easily jump to a height of more than 10 meters. After activating the feather falling, it can easily fall from a high place. The boots also have hidden traces. This spell was learned from the Harry Potter world, which can make snow without leaving any trace. With these equipment, Biss has been armed to the teeth, and Allen has also prepared some spell scrolls for her. It can be said that her safety level is even higher than that of some legendary wizards this time when she goes to the Shadow Plane. It took a week for Allen to finally complete all the preparations. It has been more than a month since he came back from the Five Rings Tower. During this time, the Five Rings Tower and the Alliance's wizard organizations have also been making intensive preparations. Allen plans to go to the Shadow Plane to investigate first. Although the Abyss invasion has been confirmed, neither the Five Rings Tower, the Wizard Alliance, or the Northern Witches have found the whereabouts of the Demon Lord who entered the Shadow Plane. If they cannot solve it, even if they clear all the demons in the Shadow Plane, the Demon Lord will open the gate of the Abyss again in a long time, to attract more demon armies. Their main purpose this time is to kill all the demon lords or drive them back to the Abyss, destroy the gate of the Abyss, and cut off the channel for the Abyss energy, to continue to erode the Shadow Plane. Early the next morning, Allen came to the astrological table. With the help of the plane gate, he directly opened the channel to the Shadow Plane. Once again came to the Shadow Plane. It was still surrounded by fog. The grey world looked strangely quiet, and various creatures were hidden in some corners. Allen restrained his breath and began to explore the surroundings. As a projection of the main material century, the Shadow Plane has many similarities with the main material plane. Allen turned the chip scan to the maximum and walked towards the area with rich Abyss energy. There is no strong demon breath nearby. It seems that we need to go deeper. After a circle here, Allen did not find anything valuable and continued to walk deeper into the Shadow Plane. A pair of dragon wings opened from behind him, and Allen instantly soared into the air. The sky of the Shadow Plane is always grey. Although it has many connections with the material plane, it is closer to the spirit world in the lower plane. Generally speaking, living people are not welcome here. Allen added the invisibility spell and flew quickly in the air. Because of the restrained breath, those undead creatures, twisted shadows, wandering souls and other creatures did not find him. Some demons appeared in Allen's sight, but most of them were low-level demons such as inferior demons and cowardly demons. As cannon fodder for the demon species, they were not very smart and knew limited things. If Allen wanted to obtain information about the Demon Lord, he had to capture at least a high-level demon. Over there, Allen, who was flying quickly, suddenly paused and turned to look in another direction. Looks like good luck. After changing the direction, Allen lightly flapped his wings and flew there. What is this? Allen, who was flying at high speed in the sky, saw a strange lake. When he came to the sky above the lake under his feet was very strange. The water in the lake was not transparent or grey, but a viscous red liquid. Allen even smelled a bloody smell. The negative energy around was strong. Allen looked around the lake and slowly landed. The lake was not big. After landing at the lakeside, Allen began to check. The smell of the lake was very strange. Not only was there the breath of the abyss, but he also sensed the energy of the soul. What is this? Allen, who was observing by the lake, suddenly found something coming out of the lake. After getting closer, he found that it was some strange insects. He waved his hand to summon a wizard's hand and caught these strange insects. The insects looked very hideous. After being caught, they kept struggling to get rid of them. They looked very fierce and kept making sharp hissing sounds. This insect had a twisted human face, but its body looked like a worm with sharp teeth in its mouth. Allen suddenly thought of a creature. He snapped his fingers and stretched out his hand to grab the worm in front of him. Soul extraction. With a faint purple light, the hideous looking worm in front of him twitched violently for a few times, then dissipated directly and turned into a vague shadow. The shadow looked like a human, but the expression was abnormally distorted. After Allen finished casting the spell, it turned into dots of fluorescent light and dissipated. Soul worm. A name popped up from the bottom of his heart. This thing is something made by the devil. It has many names such as abyss worm and demon worm. This thing is the prototype of the 3rd generation demon tannery demon. It is a product that appeared after the Orbis demon obtained the genes of the star insect race and transformed it. Their essence is the soul of humans and other creatures. It is something born after the soul is twisted. The 3rd generation tannery demon was not strong when it was born and was even very weak, but they can constantly devour the strong and then evolve. Soul worms are their initial form. After devouring each other, these soul worms will gradually become stronger. When they reach a critical point, they will evolve from worm form into the lowest level demon, the cowardly demon. After countless fights, the cowardly demon gradually becomes stronger through devouring, and then gradually advances to inferior demons, horned demons, clawed demons, and berserker demons. As long as they don't die in the middle, they will eventually become a powerful demon lord. However, the probability of this is very low. The growth of a demon lord requires thousands of abyssal worms to be devoured. Damn it, these demons actually built an abyssal blood pool in the shadow plane and transformed the wandering souls here into soul worms. They are preparing to completely turn this plane into the abyss. With such a big appetite, they are not afraid of breaking their teeth with such a big appetite. Seeing these things in front of him, Allen instantly understood the intentions of these demons. It is not easy to build an abyssal blood pool. You must have abilities above the demon lord. This is already an act of changing the rules. It must be a very powerful evil force to do it. They are just a starting point. When the soul is twisted into a worm form, it means that they have the possibility of continuous evolution. If these things are not solved as soon as possible, demons will be born here soon. These demons born in the shadow plane are not rejected like those outsiders. They are born in this plane by themselves, and according to the evolution speed of demons, it will not be long before low and medium level demons will appear in large numbers. When the number reaches a certain level, high level demons will evolve. By then, there will be big trouble. Since there are abyss worms here, the soul stealers should have been here. After checking the surroundings, Allen killed these abyss worms casually. Soul stealers are a high risk profession. They like to steal souls and then trade with demon lords in exchange for rewards. Sometimes they will accept employment to herd abyss worms for demon lords. For demons, letting them guard the abyss worms is equivalent to letting Monkey King manage the peach garden. With the chaotic nature of demons, the abyss worms were stolen by them before they grew up. Eye of reconnaissance. After waving his hand and releasing several eyes of reconnaissance, Allen's body shook and disappeared. The blood pool soon returned to calm. There was nothing around except the abyss worms that kept appearing. A slight sound of crack came from the blood pool. Several abyss worms that devoured each other finally had only one left. This abyss worm was like a silkworm pupa, spitting out a lot of silk threads, wrapping itself up, forming a demon cocoon, and then the demon cocoon shrank like a heartbeat. After a while, the demon cocoon began to undergo amazing changes. The creature in the cocoon began to grow rapidly, making the demon cocoon bulge. Finally, the demon cocoon made a slight crack sound and was broken. A demon with a red body surface and slender limbs appeared. This was a cowardly demon, with an appearance somewhat similar to that of humans. His whole body was red, his body was thin, and he looked like skin and bones. He had a hideous face and sharp claws. This was the lowest level of demon. This transformation with the help of the abyss blood pool was very efficient. In a very short time, a demon was born in the shadow plane. The new demon did not stay here and turned to leave the blood pool. Seeing the action of this demon, Allen's heart moved, and he followed it in hiding. This cowardly demon did not have the ignorance of a low-level demon. It did not stop along the way and went straight in one direction. After walking for about 10 minutes, the cowardly demon came to a hidden valley and disappeared in the valley in a flash. Allen paused for a while and followed into the valley. Once in the valley, Allen found that the valley was not big, but the scene in front of him surprised him. This was actually a demon base, which gathered thousands of demons of all sizes. Low-level cowardly demons, inferior demons, and fallen demons worked under the whip of demon supervisors. All kinds of crude and hideous pipes and machines are crisscrossed, disorderly, and without any rules. In the middle of the base is a huge flame furnace, burning with black hellfire. Low-level demon coolies pour some ores and strange things into it. Some slow demon supervisors even throw them in with their things. In another part of the flame furnace, red metal liquid slowly flows out. Several strong demon blacksmiths pour the liquid into molds, and then break the molds, after cooling and start hammering. These demons are making weapons. The demon skills are not high, and the weapons they make are very rough, but the materials they use are good. There are still a lot of various minerals in the abyss plane. On the other side of the flame furnace, a stream of black liquid is slowly injected into the earth. Allen clearly senses the rich abyss breath contained in it. As the liquid is injected into the ground begins to change, and a breath of abyss slowly spreads from the ground. Plane transformation. Allen's eyes tightened and stared at the black liquid. The abyss evil energy is very corrosive. If such a high concentration of abyss evil energy is injected into the earth, this area will gradually become abyssal. These demons are trying to transform the shadow plane into the abyss. Resisting the urge to attack, Allen began to explore here. Such a base cannot be without high-level demons. Although the demons in front of him are chaotically managed, Allen, who knows their nature, is already very surprised. It is not easy to make demons work like this. After circling around the base, Allen finally found some clues. Among all the demons, only one Sorcerer is very special. As a low-level demon, the flow demon should be a coolie here, but this Sorcerer looks completely different, and there are even several cowards serving around him. Immobilization. A flash of inspiration came to Allen, and he directly controlled the Sorcerer in front of him. A space crack opened and swallowed it in. After catching the Sorcerer, Elu no longer hid, and appeared directly in the base. The surrounding demons saw Allen suddenly appear, and rushed up with weapons. Group stun. Ice storm, super magic skill extreme spell effect. An extremely large scale ice storm instantly enveloped the entire valley, and the temperature dropped to freezing point in an instant. Countless ice crystals appeared, and then spun at high speed, and everything around was completely torn apart by the ice storm. A large number of low-level and mid-level demons were dismembered on the spot without a groan, and then completely submerged by the raging ice storm. The furnace in the center was also destroyed, and the black hellfire exploded instantly, engulfing all the surrounding demons. The raging ice storm and the hellfire collided with each other, and after a short stalemate, the hellfire was blown away by the ice storm, and disappeared in mid-air. The entire demon base was completely destroyed in the ice storm. After a while, the raging ice storm slowly dissipated. At this time, the demon base could no longer be seen in its original appearance. There were traces of the storm everywhere. The valley was frozen, and all traces were wiped out. Allen took out his staff, and tapped it on the ground. Energy absorption. The golden spiritual light shot into the earth, and then an evil breath was pulled out of it by the golden spiritual light. It was the abyss evil energy that the demon had just injected into the earth. The abyss evil energy was constantly being extracted, and soon, a large group of abyss evil energy gathered in Allen's hand. Looking at the increasing amount of energy, Allen frowned slightly. This highly corrosive abyss evil energy must be processed. If it is discarded at will, it will pollute the area. The best way to deal with it is to neutralize it with light energy. After neutralization, this abyss evil energy will become energy without attributes. With a snap of his fingers, a ball of light appeared, and then Allen threw it directly into the abyss evil energy. The black abyss evil energy kept churning, and it took a long time for it to return to calm. Chapter 518 Shadow Plane 4. Next, Allen continued to summon light balls, and soon neutralized the abyssal evil energy. Waving his hand to open the private space, Allen sealed the highly concentrated energy ball, and threw it in. Then he brought out the VRO demon that Allen had captured. He circled around the Sorcerer demon with interest. The Sorcerer demon's body was stiff and his eyes were dodging. Soul projection. A low-level demon can actually command a mid-level demon, and has such high intelligence. Tell me, where are you from? Allen said in demon language. Respected wizard. I'm just an insignificant little minions. If I tell the truth, can you let me go? Allen nodded and said, yes. Hearing his words, the Quasar demon hesitated for a moment, and then said in demon language, I come from the 58th floor of the bottomless abyss, the land of gladiators. Tell me, what form of demon were you? Allen continued to ask. Bela demon, I'm a Bela demon gladiator. The Quasar demon in front of him said with a turn of his eyes. Allen showed a hint of mockery at the corner of his mouth, and then the Quasar let out a heart-wrenching scream. Are you a Bela? Those guys with muscles in their heads will surrender? Also, you are a gladiator with your character. You are insulting my intelligence. Allen said slowly, looking at the Quasar with cold eyes. You still have one chance. The Quasar wailed and begged for mercy. Succubus. I used to be a succubus. Succubus are the third generation of demons, a species of demons born from the 7 deadly sins of human desire. These demons represent different emotional desires. Bela symbolizes anger and arrogance, and succubus is the embodiment of lust. How could this guy in front of him be a Bela who looks cunning and treacherous? After hearing what this guy said, Allen stretched out his hand and grasped it, and the artifact staff appeared in his hand. The Quasar in front of him saw the staff in Allen's hand and his eyes froze for a moment. He could already feel the breath of the artifact on it. Allen noticed its gaze, and smiled at it. This smile made the Quasar feel creepy. What are you doing here? Reincarnating as a low-level Quasar? Don't tell me it's just for fun. If your answer doesn't satisfy me, I will extract your soul for experiments. The Quasar said with a terrified expression. I accepted the employment of the Demon Lord, and came here to herd demons. Demon Lord? What's his name? Where is he now? Allen raised his eyebrows. The Quasar answered honestly, the Lord of the Bela Flame Demon, Helix. Bela Flame Demon? Yes, wizard. Where is he now? Allen stared at the Quasar in front of him, and said in a deep voice. A map of the shadow plane appeared in his hand. At this location. The Quasar answered a little timidly. If it weren't for Allen's powerful strength and the possession of a divine weapon, then even if he was killed, Quasar would not say anything. However, the appearance of the divine weapon gave the demon a sense of crisis. This powerful divine weapon could completely wipe out his soul. If he died under this divine weapon, his body in the abyss would also die instantly. For a demon lord, he would not risk his life. How strong is it? Allen continued to ask. He is a secondary demon lord. Quasar said with a pout. He had no good feelings for his employer. He had just accepted the task and was in the hands of such a terrifying wizard. Now he wished Allen would find trouble with his employer. Secondary demon lord. Allen's eyes lit up. He was still very clear about the strength of the demon. The highest strength of the secondary demon lord was the high-level legend. He was very confident in dealing with this kind of demon lord. After the end of the ancient god era and the rise of the god of faith, wizards lost their awe of demons. In the era of the Arcane Empire, demon lords were also the objects of study of great arcanists. Soon, Allen got all the information he wanted. Looking at the terrified Quasar in front of him, he raised his finger and a ball of light appeared at his fingertips. He pressed the ball of light into the Quasar's head and imprinted the secret mark on its soul. Okay, I have finished asking questions. Allen smiled amiably like a wolf grandmother to Little Red Riding Hood. You can go back now, but I left something on you. Once I find anything that does not match what you said, you know the consequences. There is one more thing I need to trouble you with. I want to know the list of all the demon lords who have entered this shadow plane, including their types and strengths. When you have news, tell me through this secret mark. The Quasar's face was horrified, and his body trembled constantly. He swallowed his saliva under Allen's kind gaze, then nodded with difficulty and said, as you wish, Your Excellency the Wizard. Crazy. Wizards are all crazy. I was originally a hard-working and carefree seducer. In my spare time, I would sneak into the material plane to seduce humans with weak wills, deceive them into signing false contracts, and then take away their souls in their desperate expressions. This behavior made me feel physically and mentally happy. What I like most is to go to the demon tavern, to find 2 succubi or sensuality demons for a friendly match. I would also accept the employment of demon lords, to help them herd demons, when I was bored. Just a while ago, I received a large number of business. A demon lord hired me to herd demons in a shadow plane. This is a big business. This demon lord was favored by the will of the abyss and obtained its favor. He was sent to a shadow plane close to the main material plane, becoming the vanguard of the abyss invasion. You know, this is a lucrative job, so I happily accepted the employment of this demon lord. Then, I regretted it. I was poor, weak and helpless, and was targeted by a powerful wizard as soon as I entered this plane. If it was an ordinary wizard, I would not be so worried and scared because of soul projection. Even if I died, I would only lose some power. But when I saw the artifact staff in the hands of the wizard, I knew I was in trouble. I'm a seducer, and I'm very panicked. After sending the seducer away, Allen was full of interest in the secondary demon lord. The Balrog itself is a body-shaped species, and its combat power is also ranked at the forefront among the 3rd generation Tannery demons. A secondary demon lord level Balrog has a lot of divinity, but the demon does not have a priesthood ability. The demon lord can only exert his full strength in his own territory. Every demon lord is recognized by the will of the abyss. In the abyss, Allen is not sure that he can defeat a secondary demon lord in a single duel. However, if he is in the shadow plane, after losing the home advantage, Allen is confident that he can kill him. If he is in the abyss and is suppressed by the will of the abyss, Allen is still a little afraid unless Allen brings the floating city over. With the help of the huge magic power in the floating city, it is not very difficult to deal with a secondary demon lord. In the shadow plane, with the support of wizard organizations such as the Five Rings Tower, Allen can even form a team composed of all legendary wizards to beat the opponent, or directly summon the long-range attack of the floating city. He coveted the divinity of the Beta Flame Lord. This thing is not too much for anyone. After getting the information about this demon lord, Allen did not go to trouble him directly. The most important thing is that this plane has been eroded by demons for a long time. Who knows how many minions there are around this demon lord? If there is a team of beta flame demons, Allen will rush over so rashly. The biggest possibility is that both sides will suffer, and he will even suffer. Instead of destroying the blood pool directly, Allen left a few reconnaissance eyes here and left. After a round in the shadow plane, Allen returned to the wizard tower. After gathering several maids, Allen began to arrange tasks. Now the strongest among his maids are Bis and Selena. Their strength has reached above level 15, corresponding to the 3rd level wizards in the wizard world. Helen has only been with Allen for a short time, and is only level 2. The other mermaid maids are also level 2 wizards. Selena, I will take Bis with me this time. You stay here to watch the house. After I leave, activate the diamond golem in the wizard tower, and Helen will stay here too. Okay, master. Selena and Helen nodded obediently. By the way, I may summon the wizard tower to attack. You should be ready to respond at that time. Allen thought for a while and said, "But this is the equipment prepared for you. Take it and get familiar with it first. This battle is a bit dangerous. Remember not to leave my sight." Allen handed the prepared equipment to Bis. "Thank you, master." Bis took the equipment and left the room. Soon, she came in dressed neatly. Her body was well fitted with leather armor, which outlined her curvy figure. Her high-waisted riding boots set off her straight calves. Her wild and charming face made her look like a little wildcat. She was sexy and charming, and the dagger on her waist set off her heroic spirit. After putting Bis in a circle, Allen took out a cloak. The cloak had a hidden effect. It was something Allen had made before. He put the cloak on Bis to cover her seductive figure. Allen nodded with satisfaction. Bis looked at Allen's actions with some amusement. She knew the little thoughts of her master very well, but she did not refuse. While Allen was putting the cloak on her, she kissed Allen on the face. "After Bis and I leave, you should be careful." After another explanation, Allen took Bis out of the wizard tower through the teleportation array. Chapter 519 Shadow Plane 5. Five Rings Tower. When Allen and Bis came here, the Wizard Union and the Northland Witches had also arrived. At this time, the Five Rings Tower had gathered more than half of the high-end combat power in the wizard world. There were already 6 legendary masters, and the number of other high-level wizards was close to 500. The representative of the Northland Witches was the Prophet Stella, who was proficient in the prophecy school. The representative of the Wizard Union, Mr. Brook Hall, plus Mr. William Oak, the Five Rings Tower and Allen, 6 legendary professional systems. However, Alfred, the Dean of the Five Rings Tower, would not go this time, but Allen and the Tower Master of the Battle Tower, Mr. Faddle. Combining the news brought by everyone, Allen and several others worked together to make a prophecy, and finally confirmed that the demon lord who invaded the shadow plane was indeed in the place where Allen found it, and the seducer did not lie. The next day, after a day of rest, a large number of high-level wizards gathered in the Five Rings Tower Square. With the opening of the plane teleportation array, the first batch of high-level wizards entered the shadow plane under the leadership of Faddle. Shadowland. This special space surrounded by fog, all those who entered were wrapped in a layer of grey. The area entered by the Five Rings Tower corresponds to the location of the Five Rings Tower in the material plane, but it is very different from the material plane. In the shadow plane, it is a dark forest. Wizard Karen, you lead the team to Area C, clear out the surrounding demons and build an outpost. Wizard Catherine, you lead the team to establish a logistics supply station in Area E. Wizard Victor, please build a teleportation array as soon as possible. As soon as they entered here, many wizards divided the work according to the plan discussed in advance. As time went by, a simple outpost was completed. This time, the other wizard alliances of the Five Rings Tower not only expelled the demons, but also built some permanent bases here to monitor the shadow plane for a long time. Teams of wizards gathered and set off. The wizards for this operation were at least level 2, and no formal wizards came at all. For this purpose, the 3 major wizard organizations all dispatched a large number of people. The actions of the demons this time have touched the bottom line of the 3 major wizard organizations, and the war has begun. Detection Tower. Allen and several other legendary wizards stood in front of the detection eye, and the wizards entering the shadow plane were clearly seen on the crystal screens. A dozen senior wizards were busy in the hall, reporting the latest news from time to time. The third team encountered a winged demon attack. Fighting. The 13th forward base has been established. Encountered a high-level demon. How can Wizard Karen go? As time passed, the teams continued to advance, and the demons that continued to appear did not cause too much trouble to the wizards, and bases were constantly established. The 7th team encountered a large number of high-level demons, requesting support. Suddenly a hurried voice sounded. A large number of high-level demons? Hearing the words of the wizard who came to send the message, Brook Hall suddenly became a little restless. Team 7 was the member of the Wizard Alliance. With the strength of their team, they would be in danger if there were more than 5 high-level demons. Brook stood up and said, I'll go over and take a look. After that, Brook opened the portal and rushed over. Team 12 found the Abyss blood pool. Wizard Catherine asked to destroy it. William Oak, who was sitting on the chair, thought for a while, and stood up and said, I'll go over there, but I need to trouble Sir Allen to send me over. Okay. Allen smiled slightly, and waved to open a portal. As time passed, Allen was the only legendary wizard left here, and the others had gone to support. At this moment, the surveillance screen suddenly sounded the alarm, and the eye of detection found a huge shadow. The next moment, several high-level wizards were knocked out one after another, and the protective shield on one of them was directly shattered. If someone hadn't reacted in time to bless him with the mage armor, he would have been seriously injured if not dead. What's the situation? Seeing the miserable state of this team, Allen stood up instantly. I don't know. It's too fast. I can't see it clearly. Lock the Eye of Mysticism and call another one over. Soon, some blurry images appeared on the crystal screen in front of him, and a huge figure flashed in the grey sky. The huge open flesh wings made him feel familiar. Giant dragon. Although it was not very clear, Allen still recognized it at a glance. Biss, follow me. Allen walked quickly towards the teleportation array, and Biss followed closely behind. Although other dragons can also live in the shadow plane, the shadow dragon likes to stay in the shadow plane the most. This time they should encounter a shadow dragon. Yinglong is not big in size, not as big as red dragons and gold dragons, but its body is slender. Its strength is not the best among conventional dragon species, but there is a feature that makes them not to be underestimated. Shadow dragons can hide their bodies in the shadows. In this state, they are physically immune, and even spell damage will be greatly reduced. The only weakness is sunlight. Sunlight will directly remove his body from the darkness. At this time, the shadow dragon spell will be invalid and no longer have such powerful power. In this shadow plane, spells such as light, illumination, and flash cannot illuminate the shadow plane. Only daylight can be used. This spell was invented by ancient wizards and can create the effect of sunlight. Let's go. Allen stretched out his hand to hold Biss's slender waist, and then in the blink of an eye, the two of them appeared in the shadow plane. Be careful. Get out of the way. Allen had just teleported here when a warning sound came from all around. A huge shadow passed by in an instant, and powerful wings instantly lined up towards Allen. Advanced force field protection. Legendary wizard armor. Two spiritual lights rose in succession, and bang. Allen's energy field flashed quickly for a few times, and then returned to its original state. This welcome method is a bit special. Allen curled his lips, and looked at the huge black shadow in the air. Sir Allen, you came in person. A wizard from the Five Rings Tower said happily, when he saw Allen's figure. How are the casualties? Allen nodded at him, and walked over to ask the wizard leading the team. The leading senior wizard looked a little embarrassed. After seeing Allen, he breathed a sigh of relief. Sir Allen, you are finally here. 3 are seriously injured, 2 are slightly injured. If it were a little later, this team would probably be wiped out. This dragon is too strong. Our spells have little effect on it, and physical attacks are ineffective. Allen nodded and said, let the others retreat first. This is a shadow dragon. It can travel freely in the shadow plane. You are no match for it. Space blockade. The staff in Allen's hand instantly burst out with dazzling golden light. The golden light turned into chains that instantly merged into the surrounding space and then disappeared. The space in this area was forcibly blocked by Allen. Prepare the daylight spell. Don't interrupt when I fight the shadow dragon, Allen said in a deep voice. Hearing his words, the other wizards nodded one after another, and then began to prepare spells. Then a radiance like the sun suddenly appeared in the shadow plane, and then all the shadows around were dispelled. Found you. The shadow disappeared, and the shadow dragon hiding in the shadow was instantly discovered by Allen. Want to run? Too late. A gleam of light flashed in Allen's eyes. A pair of huge dragon wings appeared behind him, and the figure disappeared instantly. Half-dragon transformation. Dragon breath. The scorching magic flames gushed out of Allen's air, and the surrounding sky was filled with flames. The power of Allen's dragon breath was very terrifying. It already had the power of a 9-ring spell, and was only a hair's breadth away from a legendary spell. Enshrouded in flames, the shadow dragon had nowhere to hide. Without the protection of the shadow, its defense was strong, but it could not withstand such a powerful dragon breath. Boom. A huge monster with a wingspan of more than 20 meters rushed out of the sea of fire. It rushed towards Allen with flames all over its body. This was an adult shadow dragon. The surface of its body was a layer of grey shadow, which looked looming. Its body was slender, and the bone spurs looked extremely ferocious. This shadow dragon looked very ferocious. It looked extremely embarrassed when it rushed out of the sea of fire, and it rushed towards Allen with red eyes. Stun. Super magic skill spell extreme effect. Monster immobilization. Super magic skill spell extreme effect. 2 rays of light burst out from the staff in succession, and the body of the shadow dragon that was originally rushing over suddenly stiffened, and then fell directly from the air. Bang. There was a loud noise, and the ground shook slightly. The shadow dragon remained in a strange posture, and fell to the ground motionless. Allen retracted his wings, and descended from the air. Sure enough, there is something wrong with this shadow dragon. Seeing the dark red pupils and the breath on the shadow dragon's body, Allen's expression was a little solemn. This shadow dragon has been transformed by a demon. Detect the demon. A ray of light was stimulated from Allen's hand, and then a strong red light rose from the shadow dragon. The stink of the abyss, the breath of the demon. Ever since fighting with the demon, he has been very sensitive to the breath of the abyss. The shadow dragon in front of him has been transformed into a demon. Go and inform the other teams to be careful. The shadow dragon in the shadow plane has been transformed by a demon. Allen directly ordered the wizard beside him. Yes. A wizard left in a hurry. Destruction sword. He stretched out his hand and summoned a black longsword. Allen came to the shadow dragon and then pierced the shadow dragon's heart with a sword, and black blood spurted out instantly. This demonized shadow dragon is beyond salvation, and Allen has no ability to reverse the demonization. Perhaps only the gods or the Arcane Empire have these methods. Soul extraction. A purple chain shot out from the staff. Puff. With a light sound, the chain pierced into the shadow dragon's body and then locked his soul, and then the chain tightened and began to tighten slowly. Allen had a serious expression, controlling the chain and pulling hard. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520 Shadow Plane 6. A translucent shadow struggled to get rid of Allen's control. Roar. A dragon roar seemed to come from the depths of the soul. The chains kept shaking, and dragon roars came one after another. Then, in the horrified eyes of others, a hazy and distorted phantom of a giant dragon was pulled out of the shadow dragon's body by Allen. It looked very similar to the shadow dragon, but its body was covered with green flames. These flames were like living things, constantly penetrating into its body. Purification. Artifact power. A clear spring poured down from the void, washing the soul of the shadow dragon. As the spring water continued to wash, the green flames became weaker and weaker, and soon went out. Wisps of dark green abyssal evil energy were washed out, and the flames went out. The green wound on the shadow dragon's soul gradually faded. Finally, it disappeared under the washing of the spring water. As the abyssal evil energy was completely cleared, the soul of the shadow dragon regained its sanity. Roar. With a dragon roar, the shadow dragon slightly possessed Allen, spoke a word in dragon language, and then the whole body turned into fluorescent dots and disappeared in front of his eyes. A touch of soul light in the shadow dragon's soul returned to the source sea. Ding dong. A purple soul crystal fell to the ground. Allen waved his hand lightly, and the purple soul crystal eye fell into his hand. Legendary soul crystal. Good harvest. He collected the soul crystal with joy, and then opened the private space to collect all the shadow dragons. You know, the dragon is full of treasures, and the body of this legendary dragon is even rarer. If you are lucky, you can create several legendary items. This shadow dragon was eroded by the evil energy of the abyss, and lost its mind. That's why Allen seized its weakness and easily killed it. If it still retained its wisdom, even if Allen's strength far exceeded it, it would not be easy to kill a shadow dragon. Although shadow dragons are powerful, they are afraid of sunlight. Daylight magic is to restrain them. The shadow body was broken by the daylight magic, and it was crushed by Allen in all aspects. It couldn't turn over Allen's palm. Team 9 found a demon base. Team 7 was besieged by demons. Request support. Request support. Team 15 found a shadow forest. We are surrounded by twisted shadows. A large number of undead creatures were found in Area K, and the danger level is level 3. Just after Allen dealt with the shadow dragon, news kept coming from other places, and many places were already in a tight situation. Fortunately, most of the wizards mobilized this time were combat wizards, and their strength was not weak. With the arrival of subsequent wizard support, the monsters encountered were quickly solved, and some legendary wizards would also take action for some that could not be solved. At this time, the demons in the shadow plane finally reacted, and the wizards had begun to enter the shadow plane in an all-round way. All the demons scattered in the shadow plane began to gather towards the twisted shadow forest. The wizards suddenly found that the demons that had been appearing just now suddenly disappeared. Some puzzled wizards moved towards the target cautiously. After walking for a while, they found that there was no obstruction at all. Allen and several legendary wizards discussed and did not speed up the pursuit, but established forward bases step by step and moved forward unswervingly towards the shadow forest. Shadow forest. At this time, this strange shadow forest has become a paradise for demons, and a large number of demons gather around the forest. Under a towering mountain, there is a fortress built by demons. The mountain is located deep in the shadow forest. The trees around the fortress have been cut down, revealing a flat land. In the middle of the land, countless demon coolies are building an altar. The altar is dark in color, as if it absorbs the light around it. It makes you dizzy when you look at it. Various demon images are carved on it. It looks weird and hideous, as if it will come alive in the next moment. On the altar is a huge stone gate that is 40 meters high. The stone gate has been completed. It is the gate of the abyss. In the middle of the gate of the abyss is a purple space vortex. The vortex keeps rotating, and teams of demons emerge from the vortex. The gate of the abyss has been opened. As the commander of this invasion of the shadow plane, the Beta Flame Demon Lord Helix opened the gate of the abyss. He is ready to summon more demons from the abyss to come here. Helix is not an old abyss lord. He is just a secondary demon lord who has just advanced for 100 years. Although the abyss plane is large, there are too many demons in it. Although he has advanced to a secondary demon lord, he does not have his own territory. In the abyss, for the territory, the demon lords are almost fighting their brains out. As a chaotic camp, the life of the demons is killing, destruction, and betrayal. Chaos is happening all the time here. Although Helix is powerful, he does not even have a demon army under his command, so naturally he has no way to compete for territory. He can only surrender to stronger demon lords, serve them, and then train his own men. Maybe after hundreds or thousands of years, his lord will die at the hands of a stronger demon, or he will be strong enough to replace him. But just when he was about to do this, an opportunity appeared in front of him. The abyss invaded, and the war of invading the main material plane led by the will of the abyss began. Every time the abyss invades, a large number of demon lords will rise, and a large number of demon lords will fall. As for the invasion of the main material plane, if you win, you will gain a large number of territories. If you fail, it doesn't matter. The demon lords who have lost a lot of strength in the war will soon be replaced by their former subordinates or neighbors. My name is Helix, a Beta Flame Demon Lord. Not long ago, I participated in an invasion of a lower plane close to the abyss. This plane is a half material and half energy plane, and the strength of the natives is not strong. I took my men and easily gained a foothold here. I think my good luck has come. Praise the Abyss Evil Sun for giving me such a good opportunity. As a demon lord, it is my duty to expand the scope of the abyss's power. The next thing is to transform the plane with the help of the abyss's evil energy. In the nearby forest, I found a shadow dragon's nest. This creature is very powerful, but in front of the will of the abyss, all are vulnerable. After catching a group of shadow dragons and injecting the abyss's evil energy for transformation, this group of shadow dragons are the best men. After dealing with the shadow dragon, there were no creatures around that could stop the abyss army, and the plane transformation progressed more and more smoothly. Not long ago, I successfully built an abyss blood pool in this plane, and this vast territory has become my possession. As long as the abyss blood pool continues to transform the surrounding wandering souls into abyss worms, the number of demons here will increase rapidly, and my demon army will become stronger and stronger. By the way, I also need to spend some souls to hire a soul stealer to herd souls for me. These damn soul stealers are so evil that they actually charge 5 high-level soul crystals for herding souls. Wait, when I, Helix, completely occupy this plane and become a new demon king, I will definitely make you spit out your money with interest. Helix thought about it and fell into his own fantasy. What did you say? You saw humans? Near my territory? A cold voice sounded in the fortress. On the white bone chair in the center, Beta Flame Lord Helix looked at the lurker in front of him with a solemn expression. As a demon lord, although he was arrogant, he was not stupid. He would not rush forward in a fit of rage. Such impulsive demon lords would have long been dead in the abyss, and their skeletons would have been made into chairs, or hung on the wall as collectibles. Send someone to investigate the situation, Helix said, holding his chin, and the tall body of Beta Flame changed to a more comfortable posture. Although demons are impulsive, greedy, warlike, and brainless, they are all low-level demons. When demons advance to legends, although they still have many problems, their IQ is higher than that of most humans. The wizard has appeared. What a quick reaction. Damn, how many people have they come, and this bunch of trash didn't bring back any useful information. Under a towering rock, the shadows around them twisted and changed strangely, and then a demon that looked like a spider emerged. Abyss Lurker. This is the name of this kind of demon. It has a very strong hiding ability and likes to hide in the dark and attack. It is an assassin and scout in the demon army. 1, 2, 3, 7. There are 7 humans here. The lurker hid in the shadows, staring at the stronghold in the distance with cunning eyes. It is not a powerful main battle demon. The Abyss Lurker is a demon with a serious bias. Its powerful attack power allows it to kill high level demons when the enemy is still unprepared, but its fragile defense is similar to that of low level demons. It is both powerful and fragile. Only after evolving into an assassin demon can it rely on its strong attack power and hiding ability to become a messenger of death. There are not many humans. We must go back and tell the Lord immediately. The figure of the lurker gradually disappeared in the shadows. Shadow Forest, Demon Fortress. It took about 5 hours for the Fire Demon Lord Helix to receive the information sent back by the scouts. Really? Helix grabbed the Abyss Lurker in front of him, and dark red flames spewed out of its mouth. Yes, sir. The Abyss Lurker replied quickly. There are only 200 or 300 of these human wizards? Hehe. What a bunch of daring guys. How dare such a small number of people come to the shadow plane? As he spoke, the Fire Demon Lord Helix threw the demon in his hand away, and the Abyss Lurker rolled out of the hall. Helix looked at his deputy next to him with his pupils burning with flames, an elite succubus with a charming face. She was the second daughter of a succubus matron and a loser in the family struggle. Although she escaped her sister's pursuit, she was exiled and had no choice but to seek shelter with Helix. Chapter 521 Plane Combat 1. Chapter 522 The succubus's strength is average, but she is a rare demon with high intelligence. Since her strength cannot threaten him, and her intelligence is high, this succubus has become his think tank. There are very few demons with brains. It is not easy to manage these chaotic demons, so intelligent demons are particularly important. Humans? Maybe we should take the initiative to attack while they are unable to gain a foothold. The succubus's eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but lick the corner of her mouth with her scarlet tongue. Humans, wizards. Helix thought about the think tank's proposal, then nodded and said, call the demon army to attack. Let's catch him off guard. Yes. The berserker next to him said excitedly. The demons are eager to kill. In the abyss, wars break out all the time, and most of the wars are meaningless, just because they are bored. Demons are the most instinctive creatures. Alarm. Alarm. We are attacked by demons. There are a lot of them. Request for support. Request for support. The communication crystal suddenly sent a distress signal from the forward team. Demons under the ground. It's a demon hunting spider. Everyone be careful. There are abyss lurkers here. Request support. Dozens of black shadows emerged from underground. These spider-like demons like to hide underground and then suddenly attack when something passes by. As soon as they appear, they surround the two wizard teams. Demon hunting spiders are generally 2 to 3 meters in size, with 6 slender legs. They can spit spider silk to hunt, and their silk is poisonous. Moreover, they are social animals, and once they appear, they will appear in a group. Each demon hunting spider is a demon above the intermediate level, and the abyss lurkers among them are even higher level demons. The wizard team trapped in the siege became precarious. Chip. Lock the coordinates of the communication crystal. Group teleportation. Start. A ray of spiritual light rose instantly, and then wrapped several wizards around Allen. With a wave of space fluctuations, Allen appeared next to the surrounded wizard team with several wizards. In addition to being used for communication, Allen deliberately left a secret mark on each communication crystal. Legendary wizards can quickly teleport over to provide support through the secret mark. Exploding fire, ice storm, earth spike. As soon as they appeared, the wizards who came to support released their prepared spells. The demons who were fighting with the wizards were instantly covered by spells. Wave after wave of spells were tilted down. Windblade array, super magic skill magic shaping. Dozens of windblades appeared instantly, and then quickly passed through the surrounding space. Dark green blood splashed everywhere, and the abyss demons were cut into pieces by a large number of windblades. After a few breaths, all the demons were killed. Okay, continue exploring. Remember to be careful. After a few words of advice, Allen took Biss and teleported away directly. The other wizards rested for a while and continued to move forward. As the wizards continued to advance, demon bases were found one after another, and then destroyed. The Abyss Blood Pool was also sealed by the wizards. The Abyss Blood Pool changed the plane rules around it. It was not easy to get rid of it in a short period of time. It needed to correct the tampered rules around it. So after further discussion, Allen and others decided to seal it first, and then slowly wipe out the Abyss Blood Pool after solving these invading demons. The eyes of the secret law kept flying, scanning the surrounding environment in all directions without dead ends, transmitting the scene in front back, and then sending out teams of wizards according to the information transmitted back. The 5-ring tower was like a sophisticated war instrument, running quickly. Boom. Or thunderous roar came from a distance, and a sharp alarm sounded. Enemy spotted. A large number of enemies are approaching quickly. More than 10,000, requesting support. In the smoke and dust, a fully armed demon army advanced rapidly. These demons were equipped with weapons and armor. Although they looked rough and ugly, and the weapons and armor were messy, the materials were not bad. The demons were rough in craftsmanship, strong and powerful, and mostly used heavy weapons. The entire demon army was also in a mess. The long distance running had made the demon formation chaotic. Running in the front was a group of demon dogs. This kind of demon dog was red all over, with hideous claws, and teeth-red eyes, and many black and red scales on its body. The evolutionary map of this canine demon is demon dog, hell 2-headed dog, hell 3-headed dog, and it is also a powerful demon in the bottomless abyss. There are also a large number of winged demons in the sky. These demons with bad wings, thin bodies, and looking like bad spirits are the cheapest flying units in the abyss. There are also a small number of succubi among the winged demons. The most conspicuous ones are the tall, burly and ferocious berserkers. These demons are generally over 3 meters tall. In addition to these, there are also VRO demons, 6-armed snake demons, and abyssal horn demons. As for those low-level demons, inferior demons, and cowards, none of them are there. Open the barrier. Fatty's eyes narrowed, his face was solemn, and he said in a deep voice, "Everyone shrink the defense line. Start the transmission coordinates. Send a distress signal. We are encountering the main demon army." A huge hexagram array rose instantly, and silver white rune marks began to appear. Soon, an extremely complex rune barrier appeared, and the purple energy barrier gradually spread, covering more than 40 wizards. The target is really approaching at a rapid speed. Prepare for spell coverage and attack. The war broke out suddenly. At the same time, Allen and others also received the information from the front, and looked at each other. Let's get started. Chip. Lock the space coordinates. Prepare to open the large portal. The space coordinates have been locked, correcting the space deviation value. Open the anti-interference barrier. The space coordinates have been corrected. The portal is open. A strong space wave rose from the 5-ring tower, and a dazzling aura shot straight into the sky. Faddle stood at the front, looking at the fast approaching demon army, holding his staff high. First team, 45 degrees elevation ahead, ice storm. Second team, 40 degrees ahead, thunder explosion. Third team, 45 degrees northeast, ground spike. Fourth team, 45 degrees southeast, ice storm. As the order was issued, countless elemental energies gathered frantically, and then a series of heart-pounding spells fell on the running demon army. Boom. A series of explosions sounded, accompanied by the collision of ice cubes. The temperature in the air instantly dropped to freezing point. Electric snakes danced wildly, thunderstorms roared, and the wizard's first round of attacks directly slowed down the running speed of the demon army. Perhaps it was the absolute advantage in numbers that boosted the morale of the demons. They were not surprised by the long-range attacks of the wizards. As long as the thick-skinned demons could withstand the first few rounds, they would rush to the front of the wizards. At that time, relying on their strong physical strength, they could fight however they wanted. A series of spell auras continued to emerge. Many demons could no longer bear the continuous spell attacks, and many demons died. Just as the demons paid a huge loss of life and broke through the spell coverage area, a group of tall and strong figures came out from behind the wizard team. These people were generally about 2 meters tall, with shaved heads. The staffs in their hands were also different from those of other wizards, with a clear metallic luster on them. After seeing the demons approaching, the leader Fatty roared, "Cat's grace, bear's toughness, bull's strength, advanced acceleration, advanced magic weapon, advanced mage armor." A series of spells were released continuously, and the spell auras were a bit dazzling for a while. Then the wizards with spells rushed forward. Boom. As soon as they came into contact with this group of fighting wizards, they showed a situation that the demons could not believe. The first demons who rushed forward were directly knocked out by the group of big bald heads. The demons' offensive was blocked in an instant. The wizards in the back cast spells one after another without any sign of stopping. The demons who were stuck here were constantly bombarded to death by spells. Damn it. Are these wizards still wizards? Seeing that the offensive in front was blocked, the fire demon Lord Helix roared loudly, and the other demon warlords around him shrank their heads and dared not speak. Tell the warlord in front that, if he can't break through the defense line of those bald heads in half an hour, I will twist his head off. Helix roared loudly. Soon the fire demon warlord in front received Helix's order and prepared to take action himself. Summon hellfire. A huge fireball smashed down directly at the wizard, but as soon as it landed in the air, it was blocked by a layer of purple energy shield. The huge power of the hellfire made the shield flicker continuously, and the top was a little dented, but it blocked the hellfire outside. In the end, the hellfire could only fall outside the energy shield. The 10-meter high rock giant was surrounded by green hellfire. The thick rock arm was raised and then smashed hard at the shield. The green hellfire stained the energy shield and then continued to spread and burn. The energy consumption of the shield rose sharply. As the hellfire continued to attack, the shield continued to deform. Seeing this situation, other demons used spells to attack. One by one, green fireballs flew directly from the demon army and hit the shield, and the pressure of the shield suddenly increased sharply. The demon's ability to cast spells has certain limitations. They are instantaneous casters, relying on blood power, and the spell ability has a limit on the number of times. In comparison, demons prefer to use close combat. They like the taste of blood in those desperate and painful souls. Orb of Chaos, Blasphemy, Evil Aura. Spells were continuously released, and seeing the energy shield in danger, Fatty handed over the command to another wizard, then grabbed the staff, and rushed towards the raging hellfire. Chapter 522 Plain Combat 2. Dragon Power. Giant Transformation. Weak Point Attack. Flash. Spells were cast on Fachiel one after another. Fachiel, who was already extremely strong, expanded by 30%. However, compared with the 10-meter tall hellfire, he looked like a tiny person. The hellfire ignored Fachiel, who rushed over and continued to attack the energy shield slowly. Big B flying palm. A huge hand slammed into the hellfire. The energy barrier formed by the wizards used magic stones and energy crystals as energy. The energy it could provide was limited and could not be compared with the energy pool. If this big guy continued to attack for a while, it was very likely that the energy of the entire barrier would be exhausted, and the wizards inside would have to face many demons directly. They were not like combat wizards, who were strong in close combat. These were only proficient in combat spell casting. Although they had close combat power, they were far from being the opponents of demons. Boom. A loud noise came, and the hellfire was directly knocked away. Its huge body flew more than 10 meters away, pressing a large number of demons under it. Just when Faddle was about to finish off the hellfire in one fell swoop, a space wave suddenly came from his side, and the next moment a beheading sword burning with flame slashed at Faddle fiercely. Without time to think, Faddle instantly smashed his staff over. Bang! There was a tooth-grinding metal collision sound, and Faddle retreated again and again. A 5-meter tall flaming figure appeared not far away. It was a Beta Flame Demon. This was a legendary demon commander. As the Beta Flame Demon Lord, Helix had a Beta Flame Demon Guard under his command, and the demon commander in front of him was the Beta Flame Demon's Guard Captain. Blocked by the Beta Flame Demon, Faddle lost the opportunity to kill the Hellfire with one blow, and the fallen Hellfire had stood up again. The two sides fought again, and for a while the entire violent energy wave spread, and the demons around who did not dodge in time were swept by the aftermath of the battle, and those who were unlucky died instantly. Seeing this situation, the demons around dodged one after another. For a while, a huge open space was vacated here, and the pressure of the protective barrier was reduced. Without the powerful output of the legendary wizard Facial, other wizards were increasingly unable to suppress the demons. The battle line was shrinking, and all the bold fighting wizards had retreated to the vicinity of the protective barrier. Some wizards had already begun to suffer casualties. The continuous high-intensity spell output consumed a huge amount of wizard magic. Although Allen took out a batch of mana potions from the Dark Ring-breaking god world at the beginning of the mission, they had almost been consumed after such a long time. At this time, a beam of light cut through the sky of the shadow plane. The grey sky was illuminated by this spiritual light, and the surrounding fog dissipated instantly. A space portal appeared in the wizard's base. Strong energy fluctuations appeared all around, and vines quickly emerged from the ground, like long snakes, entangling the surrounding demons. The vines were covered with barbs, and some weak demons were bleeding in an instant. The demons' offensive was paused. The wrath of nature. With a roar, the great druid William Oak walked out of the portal, waving his staff. All the vines kept entwining and tightening. The vines, like long snakes, grew rapidly, and a large number of demons were entangled. As the vines tightened, their bodies twisted, and they died in pain and wailing. As William, whose home was occupied by the demons of the abyss, was full of hostility towards these demons, he released the legendary druid's ultimate move. As soon as he appeared, as William Oak walked out of the portal, more and more wizards came here through the portal. In a short while, the number of wizards in the stronghold had doubled. The wizard, whose strength had greatly increased, once again started the spell bombardment. For a time, the demons within the wizard's spell attack range were in bad luck. The continuous ranged spells killed a large number of demons. Surround them. Destroy them. The demon commander roared loudly, commanding the demons to rush forward. Under the continuous attack of the wizard, the demon army was in some chaos. First, the demon army, which was originally in high spirits, was stunned by the continuous spells. Then some tricksters and seducers began to retreat quietly, and then the succubus in the sky also fell behind. The winged demons rushed forward, but the winged demons were not strong. In addition to the advantage of flying, their strength ranked in the last few among the intermediate demons. Tricksters, seducers, and succubus are the demons closest to the devil among the demons. Their personalities and behaviors are very close to the devil. To put it nicely, it is called judging the situation. To put it bluntly, they are fence sitters. They will be ready to run away at any time if the situation is not good. Retreat and die. The fire demon Lord Helix roared, and the flame whip in his hand was swung out instantly, tying up a trickster, and then the huge beheading sword swept across. The trickster had no ability to resist, and was directly cut in half. The other demons felt cold in their hearts, and their auras rushed towards the wizard's stronghold. The wizards who had been supported were once again in a state of ups and downs. At the same time, behind the demon army, in the shadow forest, the huge abyss gate continuously teleported demons, and teams of demons rushed to the battlefield under the command of the demon commander. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Just as the wizards were resisting the demon tide, the ground of the entire wizard base shook, the protective barrier kept flashing, and then a huge roar sounded. All other sounds in the battlefield were suppressed, and the height of the wizard base was instantly lowered by nearly 1 meter. A large number of demons attacking the barrier fell one after another, and many wizards fell to the ground in a hurry. The ground of the base was cracked, and the protective barrier became increasingly dim. The ground was bulging with dirt, and then spider-shaped demons struggled to drill out from the ground. Then they pounced directly on the wizards around them, and wizards were constantly killed. Since you like to drill into the ground so much, then don't come out. A rough voice sounded. A figure jumped out of the transmission channel. Wrath of the Earth. A yellowish-brown spiritual light spread rapidly. The ground squeezed each other. A lot of blood came out of the ground, and the demons hiding at the bottom line were squeezed into a pool of mud. Seeing the dimming of the protective barrier, the morale of the demon army was greatly boosted, and thousands of demons rushed up. The wizards who had just dealt with the spider demons immediately formed a defensive line to resist. Earth Wall. *8. Group ground spikes. Brook Hall continued to cast spells, trying to stop the demons from continuing to attack the barrier. The fire demon lord in the back saw that the wizard's base was sinking and immediately commanded more demons to rush up and at the same time summoned a huge hellfire to smash the barrier. Carrying a huge impact force, the hellfire fell from the air in an instant and the protective barrier could no longer support it. It was like a layer of glass cover and it turned into a sky full of fluorescent light with a bang. The hellfire fell on the wizard's station, and several wizards who were unable to dodge were directly smashed to death. The ground shook for a while, and the nearby wizards fell into a short state of dizziness. A 12-meter tall hellfire climbed out of the deep pit. Not far away, Lord William Oak jumped up, and his body changed rapidly in mid-air. In a breath, a 4-meter tall earth bear appeared on the battlefield. The huge bear paw slapped the hellfire directly, and for a moment, the two monsters, like prehistoric beasts, fought each other. The hellfire's tall body did not take any advantage at all. The earth bear was powerful and its defense was even more exaggerated. It suppressed the hellfire tightly, and a large number of stones flew from its body. Judging from this posture, it would not take long for this hellfire to be demolished. When will the next wave of support arrive? There are too many demons. We can't hold on for long. Thousands of demons surrounded the wizard's stronghold in front of them, and there was almost no edge at a glance. Soon, hold on a little longer, a wizard said without turning his head, and threw a fire cloud spell over. The spatial coordinates are calibrated. Lord Allen said that the support will arrive soon. A wizard who was really maintaining the teleportation formation said loudly. Hearing that reinforcement would arrive soon, the wizard's morale was high. Allen closed his eyes and called Selena through the secret mark. The magic power around him surged, and the activity of the elemental particles around him increased. Chip. Connect to tower spirit number 1. Start remote control. Selena. Start the golem army. Prepare for support. At the same time, Selena, who was far away in the southeast sea area, immediately stood up and said in a deep voice, received. Start the golem army. With a flash of her figure, Selena appeared on the astronomical table and directly started the golem army. Authorization approved. The element furnace is open. The plane gate is charging. The first formation of the obsidian golem is activated. The second formation of the obsidian golem is activated. The first formation of the iron golem is activated. The diamond golem squad is activated. The plane gate is activated. Lock the spatial coordinates. Shadow plane 1087.758, correcting the spatial deviation. Prepare to teleport the golem army. Boom. The warehouse of the golem core in the demi-plane was instantly opened, and then countless lights appeared in the darkness. As the door opened, the warehouse gradually became brighter, and golems appeared in front of them. Battle order activated. Golems are charging. Loading the core battle plan. Loading the demon battle plan. Loading battle skills. The first formation of the obsidian golem core is ready to teleport. One golem after another passed through the portal and came to the wizard tower. There were 6 obsidian golem formations, each with 300 golems. Allen directly activated 4 golem formations this time. There was only one iron golem formation, which was also activated this time, and it also brought 4 diamond golems. These golem armies, all loaded with battle skills and battle plans, soon all arrived at the astrology tower. The plane gate has been activated. Begin teleporting. Chapter 523 Plane Combat 3. The gate of the plane is open. The space channel is open. Teleport. Accompanied by strong spatial fluctuations, teams of golem formations disappeared in the teleportation array. In the shadow plane, on the chaotic battlefield, strong spatial fluctuations came, and then teams of huge figures came out. The tall figures and the uniform movements made them feel a strong sense of oppression. The ground shook slightly, and a small team of obsidian golems arrived at the battlefield. The surrounding wizards made way and the golem formation went directly to the front line. At their time, a steady stream of golem legions walked out of the plane gate, arrived at the battlefield. Start the legion battle. Target, Demon Legion. Start the war trampling. Charge. The cold mechanical sound of the golem puppet sounded, and then a burst of spiritual light rose from the golem puppet. The obsidian golem weighing 1 ton ran quickly, and the roar like thunder instantly drowned out the noise on the battlefield. Teams of golems were like galloping horses, running towards the Demon Legion. The next moment, a teeth-grinding collision sounded. The heaviest of the low-level demons among the demons did not exceed 500 kilograms. Facing the obsidian golems weighing more than 1 ton and running at high speed, they could not resist at all. One by one, the golem puppets were unstoppable, knocking a large number of demons away, and then continued to rush forward for more than 10 meters before slowly stopping. The war trampled the surrounding land into a mess, and the flesh and blood of the demons covered the surface of the golem puppets. The demons' front line was directly pushed back more than 10 meters. The stopped golem puppets wielded their giant swords and swept across, and then began to fight in small teams. Many wizards pulled off the front line and handed the front line to the golem puppets that came to support. As soon as they appeared on the scene, they were like a moving great wall, pressing the demons tightly on the periphery. The obsidian golem has a strong physical resistance, and the low-level demons can't cause serious injuries to it. Their attacks only leave scratches on the golem puppet, and the serious ones only break some stones, which has no effect on the huge obsidian golem. As for spell casting, the obsidian golem is a rare golem puppet with higher magic resistance than physical resistance. These golem puppets without pain, emotion, and fear of death kill demons one after another. Only when they encounter high-level demons occasionally will the obsidian golem be damaged. Fortunately, there are not many high-level demons in the demon army. As the teleportation light continues to rise, a group of taller steel golems appear on the battlefield, and the steel golems are more powerful. The strong physical resistance makes the demons fighting with him feel desperate. The attacks of low-level demons are completely ignored, and only high-level demons can be effective. Damn it. How come these wizards have so many golems? The face of the fire demon Lord Helix changed slightly, and he realized that the situation was not good. As a demon from the Chaos Camp, he knew the situation of his demons very well. They were poorly disciplined and in a mess. They liked to rush forward in a rush. When they had an absolute upper hand, they were fearless and liked to fight with more people against fewer. But if they failed, they would collapse instantly and run away. The battlefield was already in a stalemate, and the wizard's reinforcement continued. As time went on, the situation became increasingly unfavorable to the demons. We must destroy the portal as soon as possible and completely defeat these wizards. Helix shouted loudly. As soon as the voice fell, another spiritual light rose, and 4 diamond golems appeared on the battlefield, followed by Allen. The golem army of more than 1,000 people was all teleported. Under the leadership of the diamond golem, the golem army rushed forward like a bulldozer. Ordinary low-level demons were directly trampled to death, and the middle-level demons were like cutting straw. The steel golems and diamond golems swept and chopped down a piece. The obsidian golems behind him killed the fish that slipped through the net one by one. The entire battle line advanced slowly but unwaveringly after the golem corps joined the battle. The 3-meter-long broadsword in the hands of the iron golem was blessed with sharpness and armor piercing by Allen. Although they were both low level, the terrifying strength of the iron golem could easily cut the demon into 2 sections. The diamond golem and the iron golem were similar in size, but they had far superior defense and strength. They looked crystal clear, and 2 silver-white metal blades were ejected from their arms. A flash of white light passed by, and a high-level demon in front of it was directly cut into 2 sections. Scanning found that the density of enemy units is too high. Execute ranged strike. The cold mechanical sound of the diamond golem sounded, and then mysterious rune marks appeared on its crystal clear body. The next moment, a purple energy beam shot out from the gem on its chest. Boom. The purple energy beam flashed and disappeared, and all the demons were instantly killed where the purple beam passed, and a small mushroom cloud rose from the demon army. The next 4 diamond golems fired in succession, and for a while, the roar continued to sound, and mushroom clouds rose one after another. These diamond golems were modified by Allen, based on the plasma cannon of the Iron Blood Warrior. The starting energy inside was replaced with energy storage crystals, and rune arrays were engraved to create them. The power of this energy cannon is equivalent to a 9-ring spell every time it attacks. Although the previous diamond golems were powerful, they were mostly melee attacks, and there were very few long-range attacks. After Allen's transformation, their strength has been greatly improved, but because of the energy cannon, the endurance of the diamond golem has been greatly reduced. It is only 1/3 of the original, but after seeing their performance, Allen thinks this transformation is worth it. Allen does not have many legendary soul crystals in his hands. So far, there are only 6 diamond golems, and there are 2 arcane guards. These were obtained in the last ruined city. Allen formatted the original soul crystals and recompiled their souls, replaced the aging parts, and used them again. Is this a diamond golem? A wizard stared at the mighty diamond golem in amazement. What kind of energy attack is that? Is this the golem army of Wizard Allen? Too powerful. Seeing the strength of the golem army, the wizard's morale was high. Everyone, it's time to counterattack. The loud voice of Wizard Fatty rang out. Attack. Destroy all demons. Attack. Attack. On the front battlefield, the golem army broke through the defense line of the demon insects like a sharp knife. The 3 legendary wizards Fatty, William Oak, and Brooke Hall took the lead and rushed out, and the other wizards behind them quickly followed. At the same time, at the back of the battlefield, Allen summoned a large number of reconnaissance eyes, and then shared the vision with the golem army. All dangerous targets in the demon army were marked. As long as they entered the attack range, the diamond golem would give priority to attack. The legendary Balrog that had just fought against Fachiel was severely injured by the diamond golem's concentrated fire attack, and then was entangled by Fachiel, and finally had to die under the diamond golem's sharp blade. The demons began to collapse after the legendary Balrog died. With the wizard's counterattack, the casualties of the demon army increased sharply. In comparison, only some obsidian golems in the entire golem army were destroyed. No steel golem has fallen so far. The steel armor on the body has become bumpy and severely distorted. The battle loss ratio of obsidian golems and demons has exceeded 150. With the wizard's counterattack, this number is still widening. The succubus in the air had already dodged in advance, and the remaining winged demons were mostly destroyed by Allen's super large ice storm. The ice storm raged, and the low-level and medium-level demons were frozen stiff. A large number of ice blades appeared in the air, and then instantly turned into an ice storm. Baptized by spells, the demon army crushed by the golem army finally couldn't bear it. Even with the high-level demons suppressing them, they began to collapse on a large scale. Seeing the collapse of the demon army, the fastest ones were the seducers, deceivers, and succubi. These fence-sitters saw that the situation was not right, so they used teleportation to escape. The fire demon Lord Helix did not continue to insist. Although he was a fire demon, he was irritable and arrogant, but he was not stupid. Seeing that the situation was over, he directly fled the battlefield with the high-level demons. He planned to return to the demon fortress as soon as possible. Then he planned to hold on with the help of the solid fortress and the constant flow of demons from the abyss gate. Although he had experienced a disastrous defeat, Helix did not think that the wizards could break through the demon fortress. As the most powerful demon stronghold in the Shadow Plane, this fortress was built extremely solid. Since he invaded this plane, he has never stopped reinforcing the fortress. He was confident that he would make those wizards hit their heads and bleed in front of the demon fortress and finally suffer heavy casualties. At that time, it would be the time for his great fire demon Lord Helix to completely rule the Shadow Plane. All demon lords like to build fortresses. In the bottomless abyss, each demon fortress is the territory of each demon lord. Their territory is maintained by fortresses. Because of the chaotic nature of demons, they like to attack each other. As the race with the most serious internal fighting, if there is no fortress, they will soon be besieged and divided by the surrounding demon lords. It is with the help of this demon fortress that demons can withstand the pressure of demons, and they will start a war every once in a while. For the demon army, it is a wild melee. 3 demon armies are not the opponent of a demon army, but if they attack the demon fortress, even the demon army will suffer huge casualties. Helix believes that, as long as he returns to the demon fortress, even if the number of wizards is doubled, he has the confidence to hold on. The demons are defeated. Speed up. Chase. Drive these abyss bugs back home. Seeing the defeated demon army, Fachiel decisively ordered a pursuit. P.S. Thanks to the book Friends Irejuhurting for awarding 500 starting coins. Chapter 524 Plane Combat 4. Compared to the speed of the demons, the puppet golem's speed is not fast. They can only catch up by charging, but this burst cannot last long and consumes a lot of energy, so the golem army can only follow behind. The task of chasing was given to the wizards. The defeated demons did not dare to stop at all. The high-level demons ran the fastest. They were born with the ability to use teleportation. After a few teleports, they left other demons behind. Only some unlucky higher-level demons were marked with dimensional anchors by the wizards. The space was locked, unable to escape, and then they were beaten to death. Allen commanded the golem army to slowly advance in the direction of the demon fortress. He was ready to take down the demon fortress in one go and completely cut off the tentacles of the abyss. Shadow Forest, Demon Fortress. Originally, a group of shadow dragons lived here, but after the invasion of the abyss, it was occupied by the fire demon lord Helix and transformed into a fortress. The shadow dragons that originally lived here were also demonized by the energy of the abyss and became the minions of Helix. The fortress was not built for long, only more than 10 years, far less than the demon fortress in the abyss that took hundreds of years to build. The entire fortress was cast in metal. The erosion of the abyss energy caused a great change in the metal minerals of the shadow plane. The ordinary copper and iron ores were turned into fire copper and magic iron ores. The demons used these things to cast the fortress. Helix returned to the demon fortress in a very embarrassed state. As for the demon army under his command, except for some high-level demons who ran away, all the other low-level and middle-level demons stayed there. It can be said that the whole army was annihilated. Fortunately, he did not have other demon lords, otherwise his fate would be even more miserable now. Demons have never been loyal. As long as your strength is weak, those demons will rebel directly. In the bottomless abyss, such dramas are played every day. Once the demons feel that their lords cannot suppress them, the ambitions of these demons will grow like wild grass. But in fact, there are not many demons who succeed in ascending to power. Every demon lord is cunning and evil. Even from a certain perspective, the demon lord is closer to the devil. Sometimes, when a demon lord feels bored, he will write and direct a rebellion drama. He will pretend to be seriously injured, and then let those ambitious demons think that there is an opportunity. These demons will secretly plan and prepare to replace him, and the demon lord will hide in the dark and quietly watch their layout, pretending to know nothing. Then when those rebellious demons are ready, they will launch a rebellion and begin to capture the nest. When they are about to win, the demon lord will jump out directly and catch all the demons participating in the rebellion. When the hope is the greatest, throw it into the abyss. Then extract the demon soul full of various desires, pain, and hope. This activity has always been a reserved item in the abyss. Of course, some demon lords play too hard and accidentally overturn. Then the original demon lord will be replaced by his demons, and the overturned demon lord will be made into a trophy by the trusted demon lord, and then hung in a prominent position in the hall to show off his power. Returning to his demon fortress, Helix breathed a sigh of relief, and then began to prepare his forces to deal with the upcoming wizard army. "Where's Samuel? Let her come to see me." Helix didn't see his succubus subordinates, so he asked directly. "Master, Samuel just left." A berserker next to him rubbed his head and said, "Left?" Helix was slightly stunned. "Didn't you tell her to move the things in the treasury to a safe place as soon as possible?" The berserker said in a muffled voice. "Damn it. This bitch dared to steal my wealth and betray me. Send someone to chase her. I must extract the soul of this bitch and burn it with the abyss fire for 10,000 years. Helix roared loudly after reacting, and his voice could be heard throughout the fortress. At the same time, outside the demon fortress, a team of elite succubi were trying to escape the fortress in the opposite direction. The succubus leading the team was Samuel. She was the daughter of a succubus mistress, and she did not become a succubus slowly by promotion. High-level demons can reproduce through viviparity, but the probability of demon pregnancy is very low. Because of the chaos of demons, many demons have mixed blood, so the demons they give birth to are often grotesque. These weird demons are also chaotic. Some are very powerful, while others are not even as good as a lower demon. Only a few are normal demons. There are only two types of demons born by succubi. One is a twisted demon, and the other is a succubus. Samuel is a loser in the power struggle. After losing the battle with her many sisters, she had to flee with her succubi. Because she couldn't stay in the abyss, she surrendered to the fire demon Lord Helix, who went to the material plane to explore, help Helix manage the demon army, and try to replace him. However, the arrival of the wizard interrupted her plan. This group of powerful wizards had a large number of golem legions and defeated Helix's demon army like a rotten wood. Unlike Helix, who wanted to rely on the demon fortress to defend, Samiel knew clearly that the demon fortress could not be defended. If Helix's demon army had not been defeated before, he would have had a chance to win with the help of the demon fortress. After personally experiencing that battle, Samiel clearly knew the power of wizards. If she followed Helix and continued to foolishly defend the fortress, she would only end up dead. So before the battle was over, Samiel fled with her men in advance. Samiel, who had gone one step ahead, returned to the demon fortress and directly opened the treasure house in the fortress with the order of Helix, then packed up all the things inside and took them away. She was going to take these things to find a more powerful demon lord. This wealth would be her gift for the demon lord. Succubi are not very powerful demons. Their abilities are mainly reflected in charm and enslavement. The innate charm can easily enslave demons with good strength. Succubi will be handed over to the thugs of charm in frontal battles. They prefer to play tricks and like to seduce their targets with beauty. In the abyss, the succubus queen is one of the most dangerous demon lords. Her powerful charm ability allows her to have countless powerful demon thugs, and even many powerful demon lords are her bedmates. It is said that even the gods are extremely afraid of her charm. Interestingly, the most powerful enemy of the succubus queen is also in the abyss, that is, the lord of the 66th abyss demon realm, Spider Queen Rose. Succubus may not be the most powerful demon, but it is definitely the king of pie transactions. Succubus don't like to fight with powerful enemies. They like to rely on the strong, and then slowly turn this strong into their own servants. After Allen set up the battle plan for the Golem Legion, he went straight after the demons. This time he was going to clear all the demons in the Shadow Plane. Soon he came to the demon fortress in the Shadow Forest. The defeated demons were still entering the fortress. Allen was considering whether to stop them first. But just when he decided to take action, a team of succubus came out of the fortress and left in another direction. Seeing this team of succubi, Allen's eyes lit up, and he followed them in a flash. Finally escaped. Samuel breathed a sigh of relief. Where is the wizard army now? Just arrived at the demon fortress. The succubus maid next to him said, "Where is the Lord Helix? Did he escape?" Samuel asked. "No, Helix is preparing the demon army and wants to stop the wizard army. Look, our lord is really too good. He bought enough time for our evacuation." Samuel said sarcastically, "I hope Helix can hold on for a little longer. Take everything with you." "All here," said a succubus maid. "Okay, this batch of supplies is a gift prepared for our new master. You must take it with you." Samuel ordered. "Gift? Is it a gift prepared for me?" A slightly playful voice sounded in Samuel's ears. She tensed up instantly, holding the long whip in her hand tightly, and her eyes kept scanning around to find the source of the sound. Crackle. Several electric balls were thrown out from her whip in succession, and the electric balls exploded instantly. The surrounding space was covered with electric light in an instant, and a strong fishy smell filled the air. This was the smell of oxygen in the air, being converted into ozone. The electric light was radiating everywhere, and there was no shadow around. Obviously, her attack did not hit the invisible enemy. Go. After seeing that her spell had no effect, Samuel felt a chill in her heart, and prepared to escape without thinking. The succubi around her didn't care about the supplies in their hands, and they were ready to use teleportation to escape. But it was too late. A faster spiritual light appeared instantly, accompanied by a teasing voice. "Little baby, don't run. Dimension anchor. Space blockade." Locked by the dimensional anchor, Allen's figure appeared in the air. Samuel's teleportation failed instantly, and then she felt that the space around her became indestructible. They had lost the chance to escape. But Samuel did not panic, and there was a smile on the corner of her mouth, because she found that the enemy was a male wizard. The wings behind him fluttered gently, and he jumped up, swinging the whip in his hand directly at Allen. Mind whipping. Advanced charm. The whip with barbs instantly appeared in front of Allen, and then he threw a wink at Allen. Chapter 525 Plain Combat 5. Charm spells work on both men and women, and of course the success rate is higher for male creatures. When she found that the enemy was a male wizard, Sammy was ready to charm and enslave him. Sammy was a born succubus, and her parents were both legendary demons. Her own strength was not weak, and she was only one step away from becoming a legend. She was full of confidence in her charm spell. However, just after she released the charm spell, she suddenly noticed something wrong. The expression of the charmed target was too calm. Shadow tentacles. Super magic skill spells extreme effect. Shadow tentacles appeared in a flash, entangled all the succubi in place. The succubi's seriously fouled figure looked more attractive after being tied up by the shadow tentacles, but Allen's eyes were cold and expressionless at the moment. At the moment of action, Allen directly used the mechanized mind, which was in an absolutely rational state, that is, the sage time. Sammy's mental whipping and advanced charm spells had no effect at all. Mechanized mind? Damn, the spell is completely ineffective. After seeing Allen's expression, Sammy instantly thought of a spell, but it was too late. The shadow tentacles kept tightening, and Sammy tried to break free from the black tentacles that were wrapped around her, but she soon found that her strength was getting weaker and weaker, and the shadow tentacles were getting stronger and stronger. In the end, she was tied up in an extremely seductive posture. After feeling a heart-pounding magical energy gathering, Sammy looked up, and the little tail hanging behind her instantly stood up. I surrender. I surrender. Master, please let me go. Sammy seemed to have seen something extremely terrifying, and her voice became extremely sharp. Do you have to be so cruel? I'm just a succubus. Do you really need to use the orb of destruction? Sammy thought with great grievance. Are you surrendering now? Allen waved his hand to disperse the spell in his hand. Surrender. Surrender. Sammy nodded repeatedly like a chicken pecking at rice. It seemed that she was afraid that she would be killed by Allen if she hesitated a little. Allen was in a good mood. Today is a really pleasant day, of course. This is only for Allen. Standing next to him is a row of trembling succubi. Allen has released all of them and forced them to sign a master-servant contract. Their life and death are completely controlled by Allen's thoughts. These succubi have transformed into human forms. They look like a group of beauties with long black and red hair, gorgeous and charming looks, curvy figures, and big breasts. Their skin is smooth and white, their faces are a combination of Eastern and Western characteristics, and their clothes are even hotter. The leather armor they wear only covers the key parts, and the rest is all exposed. They wear high-waisted leather boots on their feet, and hold a small whip in their hands, which looks very tempting. This is a talent of the succubus, body change, which can freely transform between demons and humans. The demons in front of me have all turned into human forms. I envy you so much. Today, when I went out, I met a lot of stunning beauties crying and shouting that they wanted to sign a master-servant contract with me, tempting me to do whatever I want. But am I that kind of person? Am I the kind of superficial person who is only satisfied with appearances? Yes, of course I'm not. I'm not satisfied with appearances. I also want connotations. These beauties are not only more beautiful than each other, but also have superb skills. This is how Allen feels now. His eyes have narrowed with laughter. Is this the gift you are going to give me? Allen pointed to several boxes around him happily. Then he used his toes to forcefully open one of the boxes, revealing a box of soul crystals inside. Soul crystals? Allen's eyes lit up, and he picked up a piece and looked at it. High-grade soul crystals, good quality. The devil is so rich. This box is about 300 or 400 yuan. My property. Samir said weakly. Allen glanced at her, and Samir immediately shut up, and then opened the other boxes flatteringly. Master, this is what I got from the fire demon Lord Helix to give to you. Allen turned his head and took a look. There were 2 soul crystals in the other boxes, and the rest were various rare magic materials, such as abyss magic iron, red flame magic copper, lava crystals, mithril and other things. Allen was in a good mood. These things were rare materials, and Allen didn't have many of them. Now that he had them, his inventory suddenly became rich. Sammy looked at Allen's expression carefully. She was extremely afraid of this new master. She knew very well how powerful the wizard was, As succubi, the secret of their survival was to please the master. So far, the new master has not made any obvious statement. The only thing he showed was that he liked wealth. Time went back to a few minutes ago. Since you surrender, sign this. Allen took out a contract that had been prepared long ago and put it in front of Sammy. Sammy took a look at the contract. It was written in demonic and Nessa. Sammy only knew demonic, but after just one look, Sammy was like a kitten with its fur blown up. Impossible, human. Your conditions are too harsh. I'm the second daughter of the succubus mistress Zilia. How could I sign a contract with a human, and such an unfair master-slave contract? You are dreaming. It seems that we still have some differences. Allen looked a little disappointed. It's a pity. Second daughter of succubus grandmother's a liar. I think you can never go back. The elemental particles in Allen's hand gathered, and a black long sword appeared. Your head is so beautiful. I like it very much. I think it is worthy of being in my collection. Allen showed a smile that made Samuel shudder, then raised the long sword and gestured to her head. Seeing Allen's action, Samuel began to panic. Her body was tightly entangled by the shadow tentacles, which not only restricted her ability to move, but also restricted her spells, and continued to extract the power from her body. In just a short while, she became weak and powerless. Now seeing Allen preparing to cut off her head, she was so scared that she almost cried. I'm still young. I've just become an adult. I still have so much time to go. I don't want to die. I signed it. Don't kill me. Sammy hesitated for a moment and then saw Allen put the sword on her neck. The cold blade made her feel a chill rising from her heart. Without thinking too much, Sammy shouted loudly, as if she was worried that if she hesitated, her head would be separated from her body. Sammy breathed a sigh of relief when she felt the piercing cold leave her neck. I'm just a weak succubus. Sob. Weak, pitiful and helpless. Allen put away the sword and then asked Sammy to sign the contract. A flash of light flashed in his hand, and the runes of this soul contract were engraved on her arm. Look how harmonious it is after signing this. Allen smiled and rubbed Sammy's head. After seeing Sammy sign the contract, other succubi also signed their names. After seeing the contract completed, Allen snapped his fingers to cancel the spell of shadow tentacles. Facing this team of elite succubi, of course, they should be captured first. There will be plenty of time to train them later. You should know that the spellbook called Whiplash of Love that Allen got from the Drow Elves is an expert training guide, and the little maid Bus is also proficient in training. When Allen thought that he would soon have a team of obedient, charming and sexy succubi, he couldn't help but smile. Sammy stood beside Allen with a frustrated look on her face, silently telling herself in her heart, I'm just a succubus. The biggest advantage of succubi is patience. Even legendary wizards can only live for 1,000 years at most. This time will pass in a blink of an eye, and I will soon be free again. Bang! The succubus who was comforting herself felt a pain in her forehead, and then heard the voice of the devil. Change your form into humans. I like the appearance of humans. Okay, master. Many succubi changed their forms one after another, and at once there appeared more than a dozen beautiful women with revealing clothes. Okay, take your things, and follow me back. Allen closed the box, and took the team of succubi back to the demon fortress. At this time, the wizards have surrounded the place tightly. In addition to Allen's golem army, the Five Rings Tower has also sent constructed golems here. The number of golems here has exceeded 2,000. In addition to these, there are various summoned creatures, fire elementals, earth elementals, undead creatures, etc. Allen walked into the camp with a group of succubi, handed them over to the little maid Bus, and then went to discuss the attack on the demon fortress with others. Sir Allen, you are back. Walking into the magic tent, several other legendary wizards have arrived. When they saw Allen coming in, everyone greeted him. Allen responded and sat on the chair next to Fatty. Since everyone is here, let's discuss how to gnaw on this bone next. Fatty looked around and said, in the battle not long ago, we annihilated a demon army. Except for a few higher level demons that escaped, the others have been wiped out, and the remaining 30% have fled. There are not many demons in the demon fortress now. My opinion is to attack directly. Brook Hall spoke directly. I just scouted, and found that there is an abyss gate in the demon fortress. Demons are constantly being teleported in. My opinion is to attack as soon as possible. After all, the longer we delay, the more demons there will be, and our casualties will be higher. The Northern Witch Prophet, Stella, opened her eyes and said. Her pupils were silver and looked very mysterious. Located in the northern ice field, the climate there is harsh, so the style of the northern witches has also been affected to a certain extent and become very tough. After all, the people in the north are tough. If you are not strong, others will think you are weak and can be bullied. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.